Chapter 24:15. Seeing that Lin Luo had agreed, Liang Yu was secretly delighted. The first time he saw Lin Luo, he secretly admired her. Although he was slightly disappointed when he heard that Lin Luo had a Dao companion, he could see that this slender and elegant girl was still pure. As long as he invited the two of them to join the sect, there would be many opportunities to interact in the future. In Liang Yu's opinion, regardless of cultivation, bearing, identity, or status, he was far superior to the seemingly weak green-robed scholar. There was still a long way to go. If he could be ranked on the heaven roll in this Feast of Peaches and become famous in Jade Heaven, would he be afraid that this girl would not be moved? Su Zimo knew that Lin Luo must have her own plans, so he did not stop her. He remained silent and did not have a sense of existence. In the eyes of everyone, compared to the suave Liang Yu, Su Zimo was naturally too inferior. Lin Luo accompanied Liang Yu and pretended to chat for a while before she said apologetically, "Senior brother Liang, I wonder if there is a place to rest here. We have traveled all the way and are a little tired." Liang Yu hurriedly nodded and personally led Su Zimo and Lin Luo ran to a room. After Liang Yu left, Lin Luo spread out her divine sense and scanned the surroundings. Seeing that there was no one around, she said to Su Zimo, "The two of us will definitely encounter a lot of trouble on the way to Langfeng City. Temporarily joining this mystic mirror sect can save us a lot of trouble and also hide our identities." Trouble? Su Zimo frowned slightly and asked, "Is it the demon bandits that Liang Yu mentioned?" Lin Luo nodded and said, "The distribution of forces in Jade Heaven Celestial Realm is different from other celestial realms. Here, with Jade Heaven Palace as the center and the 5 cities and 12 buildings as support, the entire Jade Heaven Celestial Realm is ruled. In Divine Heaven Celestial Realm, there were 4 great sects and 3 great celestial kingdoms. But in Jade Heaven Celestial Realm, there were no heaven-level sects or celestial kingdoms. There was only one super force, Jade Heaven Palace. Under the heavens, all lands belong to the king, and all the people on the shores of the land are the king's vassals. Lin Luo said, "The 5 ancient cities of Langfeng, Xianpu, Tianyong, Qianghua, and Jingzhou attract the true immortals of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. All those who can step into the true immortal realm have the goal of joining the 5 immortal cities. And once a cultivator steps into the Grotto Heaven and becomes an immortal king, he will be qualified to join the 12 towers." Su Zimo nodded secretly. According to what Lin Luo said, the Jade Cloud Palace, the 5 cities, and 12 towers occupied almost all the resources in the Jade Cloud Immortal Domain. If he wanted to advance further, he would have to join them. In this way, there would be no Earth rank or Heaven rank forces in the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm. Most of the true immortals in the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm were gathered under the 5 immortal cities. The upper limit of the sects established by Sky Immortals was the Mystic Mirror sect. Lin Luo continued, "Of course, the 5 immortal cities will also use the Immortality Peach Banquet as an opportunity to recruit some Sky Immortals, but those who can join the 5 immortal cities are almost all the top Sky Immortals. And most of the territories outside the 5 immortal cities are in a state of chaos with no one in charge. There are many sects, and naturally, there are many bandits. It is said that many of them come from the demon domain and are called the demon bandits." Su Zimo frowned and asked, "No one in the 5 immortal cities cares?" According to what Lin Luo said, with the strength of the 5 immortal cities, any one of them would be enough to sweep away all the demon bandits in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. Lin Luo shook her head and said, "All these years, I have not heard of anyone from the 5 immortal cities showing up. I heard from my brother that this is the intention of the Jade Cloud Palace's experts. Only by constantly fighting and killing can it be possible to cultivate true geniuses." Su Zimo was deep in thought. Lin Luo continued, "This Immortality Peach Banquet is also a rare gathering in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. At that time, cultivators from all over the world will gather here, and there will be all kinds of large-scale trading and auctions. During this period, the demon bandits will move out one after another to stop and kill the cultivators who are going to the 5 immortal cities. Once they succeed, they will get a lot of treasures and resources. The two chatted for a while more before they separated to cultivate and recuperate. Just as Lin Luo said, along the way, the Mystic Mirror sect did encounter several demon bandits' harassment and obstruction, but they were all resolved by Liang Yu and the others. For a few days, Su Zimo had been in seclusion in his room, comprehending the cultivation methods in the Pure Jade book. The time was short, and with his talent, it was impossible for him to cultivate it successfully. But even so, Su Zimo had comprehended many mysteries from this cultivation method, and gradually understood the power of the Pure Jade book. The reason why the Pure Jade book was ranked as a taboo secret manual was not only because each Jade book was a world of its own. The Pure Jade book was not just a body tempering technique. If he could successfully cultivate the cultivation methods in the Pure Jade book, Su Zimo's combat strength would definitely increase greatly. Su Zimo prepared to head to the teleportation formation after arriving at Langfeng City and returned to the Heaven and Earth Academy to cultivate the Pure Jade book in seclusion. 5 days later, the huge warship suddenly shook, swayed, and slowly came to a stop. Su Zimo's expression did not change as he held the Spirit Essence Stone with both hands and continued to absorb the essence chi of Heaven and Earth to cultivate. Lin Luo was also cultivating at the side without any intention of getting up. Similar situations like this happened frequently these days. They were all intercepted by some bandits with the Mystic Mirror sect's cultivators blocking outside. They passed through smoothly without any danger. Before long, Liang Yu suddenly barged in with a terrible expression and whispered, "Fellow Taoists, the fiend bandits outside are hostile this time round. You guys have to be careful." Pausing for a moment, Liang Yu looked at Lin Luo. "Fellow Taoist Su, follow behind me in a while. If the situation turns bad, I'll bring you away." "It's that serious?" Lin Luo frowned. Su Zimo stood up and tidied his clothes. "Let's go out and take a look." The three of them left the room and walked to the bow of the ship. There were more than 10 gigantic warships in midair ahead, forming a semicircle that surrounded the warship of Mystic Mirror sect. On the dozens of warships, flags fluttered with 2 gigantic words, "Broken Army." There were densely packed figures standing on the warships. At a glance, there were at least tens of thousands of them. All of them were ferocious and glared at Mystic Mirror sect with murderous intent. Be it in terms of numbers or warships, they far surpassed Mystic Mirror sect. Bang, bang, bang. At the bow of the warships, more than 100 celestial immortals were working together, releasing mystic arts to attack the protective barrier of Mystic Mirror sect's warship. The light of the barrier flickered and dimmed. It was only a matter of time before it was broken. The warship swayed slightly, seemingly unable to withstand the attacks. Liang Yu stood at the bow of the ship, facing the broken army bandits. "Fellow Taoists, how many elemental spirit stones do you want? Why don't you name a number?" "Haha." A loud laugh came from the leading warship. Next, a man in a black cloak walked out. His face was full of beard and his eyes were fierce. He grinned at Liang Yu. "I want everything of Mystic Mirror sect, including your lives. Consider yourself unlucky to have met Broken Army. Reincarnate into a better body in your next life." "Ha!" The bandits roared with laughter. Chapter 24:16. Amidst the laughter of the bandits, cracks had already appeared on the protective barrier outside the Mystic Mirror sect's warship, and it would collapse at any moment. "This is bad." Liang Yu's expression was ugly as he turned to Lin Luo and whispered, "I didn't expect the leader of the army destroyer bandits to come personally. I'm afraid we won't be able to escape today." "Is he very powerful?" Lin Luo asked with a sideways glance. Liang Yu revealed a smile that was uglier than crying. "The army destroyer bandits have been unstoppable in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain for many years, and they are the most ferocious bandit group. There are 9 leaders in the army destroyer bandits, and they are all peak stage 9 heaven immortals. The leader of the army destroyer bandits is even more terrifying. He has killed countless people and is cruel and ruthless. Legend has it that his strength can even be ranked on the heaven roll." Lin Luo looked at Liang Yu and said, "Senior brother Liang can also make it to the heaven roll, right? Since you are all on the heaven roll, your strength shouldn't be too different, right? Liang Yu's face was red as he coughed lightly and stammered, My strength might still be a little short of the heaven roll. On the other side, on the warship of the army destroyer bandits. Many people's eyes lit up when they saw Lin Luo. Although Lin Luo was standing in the crowd of the Mystic Mirror sect, her bearing and appearance were extraordinary. She was like a crane in a flock of chickens, and would be noticed immediately. Boss, that girl looks good. I will personally capture her for you later. A man with a face full of smiles said to the bearded man in a flattering manner. Okay. The bearded man nodded and said, Look at her delicate skin. Old 7, your hands and feet are rough. Be careful, don't hurt her. Don't worry, boss. The 7th leader patted his chest. What about the others? Another leader asked. The bearded man glanced at the warship of the Mystic Mirror sect and waved his hand casually. The leader understood. He pointed at Lin Luo from afar and roared, All of you listen up. Other than that woman, kill everyone else. Don't leave a single one alive. Boom. At this moment, the defensive barrier of the Mystic Mirror sect's warship collapsed. The devil bandits on the dozen or so warships let out cries of excitement. Their eyes were crimson red, and their killing intent surged as they charged over. When the cultivators of the Mystic Mirror sect saw this, they did not have the heart to resist at all. Almost as soon as the two sides collided, they were defeated and fled in all directions. The 6th Master and 7th Master of the defeating armies also rushed towards Liang Yu and Lin Luo. Hurry up and leave. I'll hold them off for now. Liang Yu shouted at Lin Luo. He pulled out the sword at his waist and took out an ancient mirror, directly blocking the two leaders of the army destroyer clan. Scram. The two heads exerted their strength at the same time, erupting with that mystic technique. Liang Yu's expression changed greatly, and he hurriedly brought out his technique to resist. However, Liang Yu was still a little lacking as he was fighting 1 against 2. His sword was sent flying on the spot as he retreated continuously, instantly falling into a dangerous situation. Lin Luo waved her hand slightly. The long sword in Liang Yu's hand turned into a beautiful arc and landed in her hand. Since she didn't want to reveal her identity, she naturally wouldn't use her magic treasure. Swoosh! A figure suddenly barged in between Liang Yu and the two leaders. She was graceful like a flood dragon, wielding a long sword and attacking continuously. Sword light rippled like the ripples of a lake, continuous and unending. After a series of clinking sounds, the sound of collision came to an abrupt end. Liang Yu, Lin Luo, and the two leaders were frozen in midair. In the next moment, the two leaders' eyes dimmed, and their life auras plummeted. A shocking bloody wound had already appeared between their brows. Their figures fell from midair, their foreheads pierced by the sword light. Their essence spirits were extinguished, and they were already dead. The bearded burly man standing on the warship had a slight change in expression, and his gaze focused. This young girl was only in the realm of a level 7 heaven immortal, but her sword technique was sharp and exceptionally brilliant. Within 3 breaths, she had killed 2 leaders of the defeating armies. The bearded burly man boasted that he was knowledgeable, but he had never seen such a terrifying sword technique. Liang Yu of the Mystic Mirror sect was also stunned on the spot. He looked at Lin Luo as if he had seen a ghost. 6th Master, 7th Master. What's going on? The expressions of the remaining heads changed drastically as they shouted out loud. Boss, we can't let this girl live. Let's kill her to avenge our brothers. The 3rd leader gritted his teeth in hatred. 3rd leader, be careful. Someone shouted a warning. A sword light appeared and flashed by the 3rd leader's side as if it had never appeared. In the next moment, the 3rd leader's entire head neatly fell from his neck. His sea of consciousness had been shattered by the sword chi, and he was dead. Before the defeating armies and the other leaders could join forces, Lin Luo had already charged forward with her sword in hand. Although she was only a level 7 heaven immortal, she was still the daughter of the human emperor and fairy Ling Long. Her talent was extraordinary, and her combat strength was strong. She could even cross 2 small realms and kill a level 9 heaven immortal. A few fiends rushed forward, wanting to stop Lin Luo, but they were all killed by her sword. Lin Luo rushed onto the warship as if there was no one around. "Junior brother Lin, what's going on? Why is junior sister Su?" Liang Yu looked at Su Zimo, who was not far away, and asked in a trembling voice. Su Zimo smiled but did not say anything. At that moment, 6 fiends rushed towards Su Zimo. Although they were not level 9 heaven immortals, their cultivation levels were above Su Zimo's. Liang Yu was just about to make a move to help, but he had a quick thought, and he stopped moving and didn't make a move. He had always regarded Su Zimo as his rival in love. If Su Zimo died in the hands of the fiends, it would be exactly what he wanted, and he would not be blamed. "Junior brother Lin, be careful." At that thought, Liang Yu pretended to be kind and reminded him, but he did not move. However, before he could finish his sentence, he saw an extremely shocking scene. Bang, 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 th, th, th. The 6 fiends had just rushed in front of Su Zimo. Before they could release their weapons, divine abilities, and secret techniques, Su Zimo had already attacked. That seemingly frail scholar suddenly attacked like a bolt of lightning. Every movement of his seemed to contain the power of 10,000 caddies as it bombarded the bodies of the 6 devilish bandits. After a series of dazzling attacks, the 6 fiends were all dead on the spot. Some of their bodies were smashed into pieces. Some of their heads were smashed into pieces. Some of them were smashed into a bloody mist, leaving no corpse behind. Liang Yu's mouth was agape, and his eyes were wide open in shock. Facing the siege of the 6 fiends, even he would have to spend a lot of effort to deal with them. However, this weak scholar took less than a breath. In close combat, even the crown prince and princess could not block Su Zimo's attacks. What were these 6 fiends? At that moment, Su Zimo came to Liang Yu's side and slowly extended his hand. Pissed. Looking at that fair and weak palm, Liang Yu felt a sense of oppression that he had never felt before. It was as though he was suffocating as his body stiffened and he could not move at all. Liang Yu wanted to explain, but for some reason he could not even speak. He could only hear his own intense heartbeat. The palm landed gently. There was no shocking divine power or fatal killing intent. However, Liang Yu felt as though he had taken a trip to the gates of hell. Su Zimo patted Liang Yu on the shoulder and said with a fake smile, "Just now. Thank you for your reminder, senior brother Liang." "Why, junior brother Lin, you're welcome." Liang Yu's face was pale and he could not control his voice from trembling. Su Zimo did not wait for Liang Yu's reply and had already turned to leave. Chapter 24:17. Lin Luo charged into the crowd. Her sword glinted coldly as she dashed left and right. Relying on a mysterious footwork, the army-shattering demon bandits were unable to harm her at all despite their numbers. In less than a quarter of an hour, more than half of the 9 leaders were killed by her. Only 3 leaders remained with ugly expressions and thoughts of retreating emerged in their minds. Lin Luo's attack was not a blind slaughter. Instead, she targeted the 9 leaders of the army-shattering demon bandits. When the battle erupted, the army-shattering demon bandits did not suffer many casualties. However, the 9 leaders were completely terrified by Lin Luo's slaughter. Just now, the bearded man noticed the commotion at Su Zimo's side. Seeing that Su Zimo was also walking over, a trace of decisiveness flashed across his eyes. He ordered in a deep voice, "Retreat." Before he finished speaking, the other 2 leaders turned around and fled. The remaining army-shattering demon bandits were numerous in number. However, seeing the 3 leaders flee, they naturally did not dare to stay and dispersed in a hubbub. Lin Luo held her sword and smiled as she watched the fleeing bandits. She had no intention of chasing after them. This trip to Langfeng City should not cause unnecessary trouble. Lin Luo returned to the enigmatic Mirror Sex warship. She handed the sword back to Liang Yu, who was still in a daze, and said with a smile, "Senior Martial Brother Liang, many thanks for your magic weapon. It's really sharp." Liang Yu subconsciously reached out and wanted to receive the sword. However, he seemed to have thought of something and his arm trembled as he withdrew it. Liang Yu smiled embarrassedly and said, "Su, Junior Martial Sister Su, if you like this sword, please accept it." Lin Luo smiled and handed the sword to Liang Yu. She turned around and walked toward Su Zimo. She said, "I'll have to trouble senior martial brothers to clean up the things on the battlefield." "This is what we should do." Liang Yu hurriedly said, "In a moment, I will tidy up the things on the battlefield and send them to junior martial sister Su's room." Lin Luo and Su Zimo returned to the room. She pondered for a moment and said, "These army-shattering demon bandits do not seem to be from the demon domain." Su Zimo also nodded and said, "Although these people's methods are cruel, their cultivation methods and secret arts are similar to those of the immortal sections." Lin Luo said, "Don't worry about him. We'll reach Langfeng City in a few days. At that time, we'll activate the teleportation array and leave." After pausing for a moment, Lin Luo sighed softly again. A trace of worry hung between her brows as she said, "Originally, I had planned to hide my identity and participate in the Feast of Immortality Peaches to obtain a good ranking on the Heaven list. If you can enter the top 10 of the Heaven roll, you will definitely be rewarded handsomely. You might even have the chance to taste a peach of immortality that blossoms and bears fruit once every 100,000 years." Su Zimo asked, "Why don't you want to go?" "Father's injuries have not healed yet. It's better to bring the 9 orifices Yang restoration pill and fretless fruit back as soon as possible." Lin Luo said, "There are too many variables in the heavenly ranking tournament. We're in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain, and I'm only a Tier 6 Heavenly Immortal. If something were to happen..." Su Zimo nodded with a trace of admiration in his eyes. The two of them continued to cultivate in seclusion in the room. The interception of the army vanquishing bandits was just a small interlude to them. The two of them did not take it to heart. After this incident, no one from the Mystic Mirror sect dared to disturb them. Even Liang Yu, who was quite attentive before, did not dare to pester Lin Luo. A few days later, they arrived at Langfeng City. Standing on the warship and looking at the immortal city from afar, they could only see that the city walls had turned into a black line that spread continuously on both sides of the horizon. It was impossible to see the end of it at all. One could imagine the size of this immortal city. According to Lin Luo, this immortal city could be considered one of the largest forces in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain. It gathered all the perfected immortals in the world here. Such an immortal city should indeed be so imposing. In terms of the number of perfected immortals, this Langfeng City far surpassed the Heaven and Earth Academy in the Divine Firmament Immortal domain, the Great Gene Celestial Kingdom, and other sky-level sections. For example, a Heaven Immortal expert was nothing in Langfeng City. Moreover, in time for the Immortality Peach Banquet that was held once every 100,000 years, the prodigies of the other 4 immortal cities would also gather here. The Mystic Mirror Sect's group was too ordinary in Langfeng City, and it was very difficult to attract the attention of others. However, when they entered Langfeng City, they were immediately targeted. It was the first time the Mystic Mirror Sect's group had come to Langfeng City. Seeing the novel scene in the city, the bustling and wide streets, they were all very curious. On the stalls on both sides, there were countless rare treasures, dazzling everyone's eyes. Only Su Zimo and Lin Luo looked calm, as if they did not care about all this. Lin Luo was of noble birth, and her parents controlled a celestial kingdom. She was not unfamiliar with everything around her, so she naturally had no interest. Su Zimo, on the other hand, was thinking about another matter. He had already discovered that his group was being targeted. Although his cultivation level was not high, his spiritual perception was very strong. In this crowded street, he could still detect the hidden hostility in the surroundings. However, Su Zimo could not determine the identity of these people. Logically speaking, he and Lin Luo had just arrived in the Jade Firmament Immortal domain and had just entered Langfeng City, so they did not know many people. There was no reason for them to attract strong enemies. Or rather, they were not coming for them, but to deal with the Mystic Mirror Sect? "Someone is following us," Su Zimo reminded Lin Luo through his spiritual perception. Lin Luo was slightly startled. In Langfeng City, people came and went, and their spiritual perception was chaotic and intertwined. Even if one released their spiritual perception, it was difficult to detect anything. Therefore, she did not notice at all until Su Zimo reminded her. She gradually became nervous, and her expression became serious. At this moment, not far ahead, a cultivator army in armor walked toward the Mystic Mirror sect with large strides and an aggressive aura. It was obvious that they did not come with good intentions. Su Zimo scanned with his spiritual perception and frowned inwardly. These immortal soldiers were composed of Stage 9 Heaven Immortals, and they exuded an iron-blooded murderous aura. They were obviously much more difficult to deal with than the army vanquishing demon bandits they had encountered before. It's the Imperial Guards of Langfeng City. Isn't that Colonel Kong Han? Alerting the Imperial Guards? What's going on? These people are going to suffer. I heard that Kong Han is ruthless. Those who fall into his hands will suffer a fate worse than death. Get out of the way, get out of the way. Several immortal soldiers shouted loudly, and the surrounding cultivators looked fearful and moved aside. Swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, on the buildings on both sides of the street, in the corners and in the alleys, figures suddenly rushed out. They were expressionless, holding huge, shining crossbows in their hands. The arrows were already on the strings, and they were all aimed at Su Zimo and the others. The Mystic Mirror sect's people's faces changed drastically. They felt a chill run down their spines, and their hair stood on end. Even Su Zimo felt a sense of crisis. Those shining crossbows were clearly specially made Dharma treasures. Any arrow fired from a crossbow would be as powerful as a peerless divine power. What's going on? Liang Yu hurriedly stepped forward and forced a smile at the surrounding immortal soldiers. He said, "Exalted immortals, is there a misunderstanding here?" Misunderstanding? The leading man sneered. His gaze paused on Su Zimo and Lin Luo for a while, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. This man was thin, with triangular eyes and a hooked nose. His name was Kong Han, and he was a general in Langfeng City. Kong Han said sternly, "I suspect that you are impersonating demon bandits and wantonly killing cultivators who came to participate in the Feast of Peaches. This is unforgivable." As soon as these words were spoken, it caused an uproar. End of chapter. Chapter 24:18. Most of the cultivators who came to the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain had experienced fighting against the devilish bandits and naturally hated them. Hearing Kong Han's words, countless hateful gazes instantly gathered on the Mystic Mirror sect's people. "Kill them! How dare you come to Langfeng City? You're too arrogant. We must behead these devilish bandits in public as a warning to others. Half of our Beast Heart gang was slaughtered by these devilish bandits. Let them pay with their blood." Many cultivators cursed angrily, wishing they could tear the Mystic Mirror sect to pieces. "No, it's a misunderstanding. We're cultivators of the Mystic Mirror sect, not devilish bandits." Liang Yu's face was pale as he tried to explain. More and more cultivators gathered here, and the crowd surged. The cultivators who came later didn't know what was going on at all. They only heard the cultivators in front say that devilish bandits had sneaked into Langfeng City and were caught and began to curse. The crowd was agitated and the voices of the Mystic Mirror sect's people were almost inaudible under the vast momentum and were drowned out in the blink of an eye. No one cared about them at all. The omnipresent pressure was like a stormy sea that could swallow the Mystic Mirror sect at any time. At this time, Kong Han and the others didn't even need to do anything. As long as they withdrew, the surrounding cultivators were enough to tear the Mystic Mirror sect to pieces. A cold smile hung on Kong Han's lips as he looked at the panicked Mystic Mirror sect cultivators and the surrounding cultivators who were shouting to kill. He was very pleased with himself. The feeling of being in control of everything gave him a great sense of accomplishment. Kong Han's gaze fell on the blue-robed scholar and the bright girl in the Mystic Mirror sect and couldn't help but frown. Unlike the surrounding Mystic Mirror sect cultivators, the blue-robed scholar's expression was calm as if he didn't feel the surrounding pressure at all. He was abnormally calm. Even the bright girl didn't seem to be panicking much. Kong Han's face darkened. This made him feel a sense of defeat. He had long known that the strongest people in the Mystic Mirror sect were the man and woman in front of him. But this was Langfeng City. No matter how strong the man and woman were, they were just fish on a chopping board in his territory. As long as he wanted to, he could slaughter them at will. At this moment, Kong Han discovered that a trace of mockery flashed across the eyes of the green-robed scholar who was looking at him. Kong Han was instantly provoked by this gaze and was about to order to kill the Mystic Mirror sect. Just as he spoke, the blue-robed scholar opposite him spoke at the same time. Roar! An extremely shocking dragon roar erupted and resounded throughout the world. It was enough to pierce through the clouds. It contained its endless majesty. Under the shroud of this roar, the surrounding sound waves were instantly. It was as if this voice was the only thing that existed in this world. Under this dragon roar, all the cultivators felt a sense from the depths of the Mystic Mirror sect. Some cultivators even felt an uncontrollable fear, an indescribable sense of inferiority. Plop, plop. Soldiers, Mystic Mirror God, the mystic realm. Army, Mystic Sect, Cultivators Sect Army. Lang Mystic Mirror Sect. Heaven and earth fell silent after the dragon roar. Su Zimo's aura alone suppressed the entire street. Kong Han, who was closest to Su Zimo, suffered the strongest impact. He felt a piercing pain in his ears and his chi flow reversed. With a grunt, his vision darkened and he almost fainted on the spot. We're not demonic bandits. What are your intentions for slandering us like this? Su Zimo spoke slowly and said indifferently. I slandered? Kong Han was stunned for a moment and gritted his teeth. Who do you think I am to slander you? Move, kill them all. Initially, he wanted to bring the Mystic Mirror sect people to the dungeon and torture them. But now, he was filled with killing intent and could not care less. He only wanted to kill this group of people in front of him. Everyone from Mystic Mirror's sect was ashen. Liang Yu also had a look of despair as though he had lost his parents. In their eyes, the imperial army of Langfeng City was an existence that could not be resisted. We're really not demonic bandits. Commander Kong, please investigate. Liang Yu was still hoping for a fluke and tried his best to explain. In his opinion, if he could explain clearly, there might be a glimmer of hope. But if they dared to attack the imperial army, it would be a heinous crime and they would die without a doubt. The surrounding immortal army took out their Dharma treasures again and activated their secret techniques. Lin Luo frowned slightly and sighed inwardly. She was a little distressed. She originally wanted to hide her identity as much as possible, but now, if a fight broke out, the two of them might not be able to leave this place safely, let alone hide their identities. This was Langfeng City after all. Although there were no immortal kings, there were many perfected immortals in the city. If they alerted any one of them, she and Su Zimo would not be able to resist. Just as Lin Luo was hesitating, Su Zimo made up his mind and appeared in front of Kong Han in an instant. How dare you! Kong Han had just recovered from just now's dragon roar when he saw a blur. The scholar in green was already in front of him. Kong Han did not expect that the scholar in green would dare to attack him when surrounded by so many people. He also did not expect that there would be someone who dared to attack him in Langfeng City. He only had time to say 2 words before he felt a huge impact on his chest. The armor on his body made creaking sounds. Then, under the watchful eyes of the crowd, he was sent flying by Su Zimo. He turned into a black shadow and crashed into the crowd, rolling dozens of feet away. Kong Han spat out a mouthful of blood, and his face was pale. Although the armor had blocked most of the impact, his body still suffered serious injuries. His chi and blood were scattered, and his bones seemed to have fallen apart. He was weak all over. Kong Han fell into the crowd and created a blank passage. At the end of the passage, a bearded man was stunned. He looked at the scene in front of him and did not react for a moment. Oh no! When he realized that something was wrong, Su Zimo appeared in front of him in a flash of green robes. Teleportation. The bearded man reacted extremely quickly and wanted to release a teleportation technique to leave this place. However, Su Zimo's attack was faster. He condensed his massive spirit consciousness and released an essence spirit secret skill. A lightning whip appeared and whipped the bearded man. Ugh! The bearded man let out a muffled groan. His cultivation realm was that of a rank 9 heavenly immortal. Although he was struck by the Essence Spirit's secret skill, he managed to condense his Essence Spirit's secret skill in time to resist and did not suffer serious injuries. However, the resistance of the Essence Spirit's secret skill caused his divine power to dissipate and his teleportation to be interrupted. He remained on the spot and did not leave. As for the bearded man, he had already lost his final chance to leave. Chapter 24:19. In close combat, even a stage 9 heaven immortal would not be able to withstand the power of Qinglian's true body. Su Zimo seemed to have turned into a python as he coiled around the bearded man's body. He exerted all his strength and twisted. The bearded man's eyes widened as the sound of bones cracking could be heard from his body. Following that, his body spewed out a cloud of blood mist. He had been twisted out of shape. His internal organs had been shattered, and his chi and blood were deteriorating. A primordial spirit escaped from the top of his head with a panicked expression. To a heaven immortal, abandoning their physical body was nothing. As long as they had blood essence, they could quickly be reborn from a drop of blood and rebuild their physical body. However, Su Zimo had already expected the bearded man's reaction. While strangling his opponent, he stretched out his palm. Countless sword chi were hidden in his palm, forming a prison. The bearded man's primordial spirit had just escaped when it was trapped in Su Zimo's sword chi prison. The sword chi was chilling. As long as Su Zimo willed it, the bearded man's primordial spirit would be destroyed and he would die. The onlookers quickly scattered, their faces filled with shock. No one had expected that this green-robed scholar would dare to openly fight against the Imperial Army in Langfeng City. What was even more unexpected was that the stage 9 heaven immortal Kong Han, one of the Imperial Army's generals, would be injured by Su Zimo. What puzzled everyone was that for some reason, this bystander in the crowd was suddenly suppressed by Su Zimo. Even his primordial spirit was imprisoned, and his life was hanging by a thread. What's going on? This kid is really bold. He actually dares to resist. That person seems to be a stage 9 heaven immortal. How could he be beaten so badly by a stage 5 heaven immortal in the blink of an eye? The person suppressed by the green-robed scholar seems a little familiar. There was a hubbub of voices all around, and it was a mess. Don't move. Su Zimo looked around while imprisoning the bearded man's primordial spirit. He said slowly, "The person in my hand is the real demon bandit. And he's the leader of the army vanquishing demon bandits." The surrounding noise instantly quieted down a lot before erupting again. It seems like he really is the great leader of the Army Destroyer Devil Bandits. Previously, I encountered the Army Destroyer Devil Bandits and narrowly escaped death. No wonder I found him familiar. Why did the Army Destroying Devil Bandits come to Langfeng City? Many cultivators discussed among themselves, and their hatred for the Mystic Mirror sect had been diluted by this sudden turn of events. Kong Han sneered, his face was gloomy as he said coldly, "So what if he is an army destroyer demon bandit? How can you prove that you are not one of the devil bandits?" "Not bad." Another cultivator shouted, "You devil bandits are vicious and insidious, killing each other to save your own life. How could you do such a thing?" "Heh." Su Zimo chuckled with a mocking expression. Kong Han and the others had shown up and intercepted them. He had some doubts in his heart. He and Lin Luo had only been in the Jade Heaven celestial realm for a few days. Along the way, they did not know anyone, let alone offend the Imperial Guards in Langfeng City. If the two of them had a grudge with anyone in the Jade Heaven celestial realm, it would probably be the devil bandits along the way. Just a moment ago, Su Zimo's spiritual perception suddenly caught a strong hostility in the crowd. He secretly released his divine sense and immediately locked onto this person. He discovered that this person was the leader of the Army Destroyer Demon Bandits. This person appeared in Langfeng City, and Kong Han led the Imperial Guards to stop them. These two things were too coincidental. Su Zimo quickly thought of a possibility. Therefore, he made a prompt decision to suppress the bearded man and seize the initiative. Su Zimo said indifferently, "This is simple. As long as I use the soul-searching technique on him, the truth will be revealed." The Mystic Mirror sect had once clashed with the Army Destroyer Demon Bandits. As long as this memory was displayed, it would be enough to prove the identity of Su Zimo and the others. However, Kong Han's expression changed. If the bearded man's memory was displayed, the fact that the Immortal City's Imperial Guards reared bandits would also be exposed. This would have an extremely bad impact on Langfeng City, the 5 cities, the 12 buildings, and the Jade Firmament Palace. Kong Han's killing intent rose as he gritted his teeth. "Everyone listen up. The Mystic Mirror sect has joined forces with the Army Destroyer Demon Bandits to sneak into Langfeng City with evil intentions. They even dared to openly oppose the Immortal City's Imperial Guards. This is unforgivable." Kong Han's military order was not only to kill Su Zimo and the others, but also to silence the bearded man. When Su Zimo saw Kong Han's reaction, he knew that he had guessed correctly just now. Army Destroyer Demon Bandits were indeed colluding with the Imperial Guards of Langfeng City. Burning the sky and boiling the sea. Sky Slash. Golden Spear Armored Horse. On the long street, peerless divine powers erupted one after another. Many Dharma treasures and sword chi filled the air. The battle was instantly ignited. The reason why Su Zimo was able to injure Kong Han in melee combat was because he had caught him off guard. In fact, his cultivation had just reached stage 5 Heaven Immortal. If it was a head-on confrontation, he would not be able to withstand the joint attack of so many stage 9 Heaven Immortals. Moreover, this was Langfeng City. If he started a massacre here, the consequences would be unimaginable. If he and Lin Luo wanted to leave, it would be as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Su Zimo directly activated ethereal wings, wind and thunder wings, heaven's feet, and many other secret techniques. At the same time, he released his great rock wings behind him. 3 pairs of huge wings spread out behind his back. With a move, he turned into a ray of golden light and left the battlefield in an instant. More and more Imperial Guards gathered around, and their attacks became more and more intense. Although Su Zimo could move unhindered on the battlefield with his extreme speed, it was impossible for him to be unscathed. In the blink of an eye, he had been hit by several divine powers and Dharma treasures. Fortunately, Qinglian's powerful self-healing ability was frantically healing his wounds. The people of the Mystic Mirror sect, including Liang Yu, did not dare to move on the long street. They were as silent as cicadas in winter, not daring to attack the Imperial Guards of Langfeng City. Kong Han only coldly glared at the people of the Mystic Mirror sect with disdain in his heart and ignored them. In his view, these people were just ants that could be crushed at any time. The most important thing now was to deal with that troublesome green-robed scholar first. However, Kong Han neglected one person. Su Zimo attracted almost all the attacks of the Imperial Guards of Langfeng City. Even Kong Han had forgotten that there was a girl standing beside Su Zimo. Kong Han stared at Su Zimo in the air and was about to attack again when he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. Not good. Kong Han's heart sank. Just as he was about to escape, he felt a chill behind his neck. Immediately after, he felt a sharp pain behind his head. "You better not move." A voice rang out beside his ear. There was not the slightest bit of emotion in it. It was cold and merciless. Lin Luo stood behind Kong Han with a long sword in her hand. The tip of the sword was pressed against the back of Kong Han's head. With a little force, it could pierce through Kong Han's head and even his essence spirit would not have a chance to escape. Su Zimo and Lin Luo did not discuss it, but they had an abnormal tacit understanding. Su Zimo made his move to suppress the head of the army vanquishing bandits. Lin Luo made her move to suppress Kong Han. With these two people in their hands, they could break through the current situation and find a way to survive. Chapter 24:20. Kong Han was helpless under Lin Luo's sword. When the other immortal soldiers saw this, they all stopped and looked hesitant. "Do you dare to kill me in Langfeng City?" Kong Han said coldly without turning his head. Although he was under Lin Luo's control, his tone was still tough and threatening. "You can try. Lin Luo didn't argue with him and just replied casually. At the same time, she thrust the long sword in her hand forward slightly. The sharp tip of the sword instantly pierced the back of Kong Han's head, and a trace of blood slowly seeped out. Kong Han's heart trembled, and he immediately became obedient and kept silent. Su Zimo looked at Kong Han and said loudly, "General Kong is so nervous. Just now, you even want to kill the leader of the army vanquishing demon bandits to silence him. What are you worried about?" "What do you mean by silence? I don't understand." Kong Han said coldly, "My duty is to protect Langfeng City. Naturally, I have to eradicate all the demon bandits who have sneaked into the city." "Is that so?" Su Zimo chuckled and said sarcastically, "General Kong is so powerful. Why didn't you notice this person before? Instead, I caught him from the crowd? Could this leader of the army vanquishing demon bandits have some shady business with General Kong?" Kong Han's expression was ugly, and he didn't say a word. After this battle, the surrounding cultivators gradually calmed down. Those who were a little smarter could see the problem. However, this matter was too shocking and had exceeded the imagination of many cultivators. The demon bandits of the Jade Heaven Immortal Realm colluded with the general of Langfeng City? Was this just Kong Han's own doing, or were other cultivators involved, or did the 5 cities and 12 towers acquiesce? If this matter was true, did it happen recently, or had it been a long time? After thinking about it for a while, one could feel a chill in their bones. Who is talking nonsense and slandering the imperial guards of Langfeng City? At this moment, a loud shout came from afar. Then, a white light appeared in an instant. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived and revealed its figure. This was a young man. His entire body was covered in white feathered clothes that flickered with a mysterious glimmer. His expression was arrogant, and his aura was powerful. Celestial Immortal White Feather. So he is Celestial Immortal White Feather. According to the legends, he is the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City. Not only that, Celestial Immortal White Feather's battle prowess is definitely in the top 3 of the heavenly rankings. She might even have a chance to fight for the #1 spot in this feast of immortality. Cries of surprise came from the crowd. Many cultivators looked at this man with a trace of admiration and worship. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Although Celestial Immortal White Feather and Su Zimo were both level 9 Celestial Immortals, the pressure that White Feather gave Su Zimo was clearly much greater. In the Jade Pure Palace, he was able to fight against the princes and princesses, and even gain the upper hand. Firstly, there were many restrictions in the Jade Pure Palace. Secondly, Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian were only 7th level Heavenly Immortals. They were not peak Heavenly Immortals. If this so-called #1 Celestial Immortal in Langfeng City could also be ranked in the top 3 of the heavenly rankings, she would be much more difficult to deal with than Ying Tian and Lang Qianqian. It could be said that this Celestial Immortal White Feather was a monstrous genius among 9th level Heavenly Immortals. Su Zimo was now a 5th level Heavenly Immortal. There was a difference of 4 levels between them. The difference in strength was too great, and it would be difficult to make up for it. So it's just 2 small fries. Celestial Immortal White Feather could see the cultivation realms of Su Zimo and Lin Luo. She could not help but sneer. "You 2 bitches really think that there's no one in my Langfeng City? 5th level Heavenly Immortals and 6th level Heavenly Immortals dare to behave atrociously in the city." The Celestial Immortal White Feather did not give Su Zimo a chance to speak. She immediately attacked. Swoosh, swoosh. Celestial Immortal White Feather's body trembled. The white feathered clothes on her body actually fell off, transforming into thousands of white lights that enveloped Su Zimo. These white feathers were extremely fast. The light was dazzling and blinding, blotting out the sun. The surrounding cultivators all paled in horror. Celestial Immortal White Feather has no intention of holding back at all. He's going to kill that green-robed scholar instantly. I heard that this is one of Celestial Immortal White Feather's secret techniques. Any single white feather is comparable to a top-grade Dharma treasure, let alone thousands of them at the same time. After this secret technique, I reckon that green-robed scholar won't even have a single bone left. Just as everyone was discussing, 6 gigantic white ivory tusks suddenly grew out from Su Zimo's back, emitting a mysterious power. Su Zimo's aura skyrocketed. Immediately after, Su Zimo clasped 2 fingers together and formed a sword finger, slashing gently in front of him. The temperature of the world plummeted as killing intent filled the air. Countless stars appeared in the skies above Langfeng City, moving continuously with chaotic trajectories. The heavens released killing intent, shifting the stars. Thousands of heaven-slaying sword chi burst forth with a massive might and collided with the incoming white feather immortal light, causing a series of clanging sounds and sparks to fly everywhere. What a powerful sword art! I've never seen such a ferocious killing intent before. Could it be the legendary heaven-slaying sword art? The moment he said that, the crowd fell into a momentary silence before an even louder uproar broke out. That's right. Only the heaven-slaying sword art can possess such might. What's the background of this person? How can he wield the heaven-slaying sword art? He's able to defend against a single attack from Celestial Immortal Whitefeather as a rank 5 Heavenly Immortal. In midair, Su Zimo released his 6 tusks divine power and his essence chi skyrocketed, reaching the level of a rank 6 Heavenly Immortal. The essence chi of Qinglian's true body was rich and pure, and it was not a problem for her to cross 2 minor realms. However, he was still weaker than Celestial Immortal Whitefeather in terms of strength. Thankfully, he had a powerful secret technique like the heaven-slaying sword chi to make up for the difference and barely managed to defend against Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's attack. Heaven-slaying sword art? When Celestial Immortal Whitefeather saw that Su Zimo was safe and sound, he was not enraged. Instead, his eyes lit up and he shouted, "The heaven-slaying sword art is in your hands. How can a rank 5 Heavenly Immortal be worthy of such a sword art?" Celestial Immortal Whitefeather was overjoyed. In his eyes, Su Zimo was an opportunity that came knocking on his door. As long as he killed Su Zimo and obtained the heaven-slaying sword art, he would definitely be able to sweep through all his peers at the Immortal Peach Banquet and become the top of the heaven ranking. Die! With an excited expression, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather attacked once more. This time round, his attacks were even more ferocious. Mystic skills, immortal arts, and Dharma treasures poured out like a torrential downpour. When Lin Luo saw this, she was a little anxious and tightened her grip on her sword as she threatened Kong Han, "Hurry up and give the order for him to stop or I'll kill you." Kong Han chuckled strangely. "Lass, this Celestial Immortal Whitefeather is the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City. I'm just a general. What right do I have to order him around? If you're worried about that Dao companion of yours, let me go. If you join forces with him, you might have a chance to deal with Celestial Immortal Whitefeather." "Shut up," Lin Luo shouted softly. Restraining Kong Han was equivalent to restraining the surrounding Imperial Guards. There was no way Lin Luo would let him go so easily. However, on the other side, Su Zimo seemed to be unable to hold on under Kong Han's attacks and was in a bad situation. Chapter 24-21. On the battlefield, Su Zimo was completely suppressed, as though he could be suppressed at any moment. Su Zimo's expression turned cold. He had been at a disadvantage since the start of the battle and had been on the defensive almost the entire time. It was not that he did not have any trump cards to counterattack. If he was alone, he could advance or retreat as he pleased without any qualms. But now, he had Lin Luo by his side. He did not want to cause too much trouble and implicate Lin Luo, causing the two of them to be trapped here. In this conflict, they were on the side of reason. If they really went on a killing spree in Langfeng City, it would be difficult to explain. This was the Jade Firmament Immortal region. He and Lin Luo were in a foreign land and could not act rashly without considering the consequences. There were many perfected immortals in Langfeng City. Alarming any one of them would lead to unpredictable consequences. Su Zimo narrowed his eyes and stared at Heaven Immortal Bai Yu, who was still attacking him. He said in a deep voice, "Bai Yu, the essence spirit of the army vanquishing demon leader is in my hands. As long as I search his soul, the truth will naturally be revealed. Heaven Immortal Bai Yu sneered. What truth? I don't care. You adulterous couple openly went against the Imperial Army in Langfeng City. You deserve to die. Heaven Immortal Bai Yu had no intention of stopping her attacks as she continued to spew profanities. Su Zimo's expression darkened. Since the start of this conflict, although he and Lin Luo had attacked, they had always restrained themselves and tried their best to look at the big picture. Although Su Zimo injured Kong Han, he clearly left some leeway and did not take advantage of the situation to pursue. Lin Luo had only managed to subdue Kong Han, and none of the surrounding Imperial Army soldiers had died. But now, Heaven Immortal Bai Yu's aggressiveness made Su Zimo increasingly impatient. Don't push your luck. Su Zimo spoke again, his voice low and cold. Ha! Su Zimo's words caused the surrounding crowd to burst into laughter. Am I hearing things? This rank 5 Celestial Immortal is actually threatening Celestial Immortal Whitefeather? After all, he was forced into a corner and became delirious. He began to talk nonsense. Because of these words, the originally tense atmosphere became much more relaxed after a wave of mockery and ridicule. Kong Han, who was under Lin Luo's sword, also sneered. He curled his lips and said, "This Taoist companion of yours is not only bold, but also arrogant. She really doesn't know how to write the word death. Take care of yourself first." The sword in Lin Luo's hand trembled as he shouted. On the battlefield. Upon hearing Su Zimo's threat, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather roared with laughter. You dog, I'm going overboard. What can you do to me? Su Zimo's gaze turned cold. He suddenly came to a halt, then furiously circulated his divine sense, forming a divine ability with both hands as he pointed towards Celestial Immortal Whitefeather. Fleeting youth. Su Zimo softly spat out 4 words. A powerful divine ability instantly came crashing down upon Celestial Immortal Whitefeather. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather frowned with a solemn expression. Time divine ability? To be able to become the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City, be it in terms of talent, combat strength, or knowledge, he naturally far surpassed others. After Su Zimo's peerless divine ability was unleashed, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather could sense the power contained within fleeting youth. He did not dare to be careless. Any time-related divine ability was extremely powerful and could not be underestimated. Ascension to Immortality. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather made a prompt decision and released his trump card as well. The white feathers on his body fell off one after another, rapidly transforming into wisps of immortal chi that continuously gathered and circled around him, as though they were going to bring him up to the heavens. Normally speaking, fleeting youth was only a peerless divine ability. Most peerless divine abilities, including ascension to immortality, were enough to resist and dissipate the power of time within. However, just as fleeting youth and ascension to immortality were fighting against each other, a strange sound of a drum suddenly sounded in Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's ears. The sound of the drum was not very loud and shocking. Instead, it sounded long and drawn out, and even carried a hint of old age and a lifeless aura. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather was stunned. Immediately after, he felt his lifespan rapidly depleting at an unimaginable speed. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's eyes were filled with endless fear and shock. Boom, boom, boom. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather released another peerless divine ability. Immediately after, he used a mystic art. He tore apart a talisman on his body and released a sound domain mystic art. In that instant, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather released almost all of his trump cards. The surrounding cultivators were stunned as they watched Celestial Immortal Whitefeather stand on the spot in shock. He seemed to have suffered a huge shock and released many trump cards as though he had gone crazy. But soon, the expressions of the cultivators gradually changed. In midair, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather panted heavily. The fear in his eyes and the panic on his face had yet to dissipate. The power of that peerless divine ability had finally dissipated. The mysterious and distant sound of the drum had completely disappeared as well. The danger was resolved? Celestial Immortal Whitefeather felt a sense of joy as though he had escaped death. He could guarantee that just now, if he had reacted a little slower, he would have been a corpse by now. What a terrifying divine ability! He had to release so many trump cards before he was able to neutralize it. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's heart turned cold as he raised his head instinctively and looked toward Suzumo. Strangely, the green-robed scholar did not continue attacking him. Instead, he stood with his hands behind his back and looked at him with an indifferent expression. Fufu, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather forced out a laugh. That's your final trump card, right? But unfortunately, I still managed to block it. If that's all you've got, it'll be your death next. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather perked up once more and said with a murderous aura. Even though he said that, he had a feeling that something was wrong with his body. Suzumo remained motionless as a look of mockery flashed through his eyes. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's heart sank. He suddenly realized that the surroundings were abnormally quiet, as though everyone had gone silent. He looked over instinctively. Countless cultivators were looking at him with strange gazes. It was as though, pity? Fear? Celestial Immortal Whitefeather took a deep breath and suddenly realized that his blood chi was much weaker than before. His essence, chi, and spirit were much weaker. Initially, he thought that just now he had expended too much energy in the battle. But now, something seemed off. A gentle breeze blew past Celestial Immortal Whitefeather's forehead, and a strand of her hair was gently brushing past her eyes. It was a strand of gray hair. Celestial Immortal Whitefeather looked at his hands. The skin on his palms was no longer fair and smooth. Instead, it was rough and dark, filled with fine wrinkles. My lifespan, Celestial Immortal Whitefeather murmured softly as his eyes widened. He was originally 150,000 years old. For a celestial immortal with a lifespan of 300,000 years, he was at his peak. But now, he only had 20,000 years of lifespan left. In an instant, his youth was gone. The person standing in midair was no longer the #1 celestial immortal of Langfeng City, but an old man in his twilight years. Chapter 24-22. The long street was silent. Everyone looked at Celestial Immortal Bai with a hint of pity in their eyes. Just a moment ago, this Stage 9 Celestial Immortal was still the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City. But in the blink of an eye, he had become an old man in his twilight years. The sharpness on his body was no longer there, and he stood in the air in a daze. Celestial Immortal Bai did not die. But everyone knew that he was no longer the #1 Celestial Immortal of Langfeng City, and he was no longer qualified to enter the heaven ranking. All the glory of this genius had vanished into thin air in the blink of an eye. Such a blow completely defeated Celestial Immortal Bai. Many people looked at Suzumo, unable to hide the shock on their faces. This seemingly weak scholar, a Stage 5 Celestial Immortal, had just released a peerless divine ability and pulled Celestial Immortal Bai down from his pedestal. Who was this person? With such talent he should not be a nobody. Why had they never heard of him before? In midair, Suzumo was also recalling the process of releasing Fleeting Youth just now. Normally speaking, Fleeting Youth was not enough to threaten Celestial Immortal Bai. However, in the Clear Jade book, which was Clear Jade Heaven, he had experienced the baptism of the morning bell and evening drum. The sound of the evening drum and Fleeting Youth clearly had something in common in terms of Taoist techniques. Therefore, over the past few days, Suzumo had been trying to fuse the sound of the evening drum into Fleeting Youth. However, the fusion of the two divine abilities was not perfect. After the power of Fleeting Youth descended, the sound of the evening drum sounded. Even so, the combination of the two divine abilities produced an extremely terrifying lethality. Celestial Immortal Bai's reaction was slightly slower, and he lost more than 100,000 years of his lifespan. He then unleashed a few more divine abilities and secret arts, and only then did he manage to completely neutralize the power of Fleeting Youth. According to Suzumo's speculation, if the two divine abilities could perfectly fuse, the power of Fleeting Youth would rise to an unimaginable level. It might even reach the level of a peerless divine ability. At that time, no matter how many peerless divine abilities Celestial Immortal Bai Yu released, he would not be able to withstand the impact of fleeting youth. Kong Han, who was under Lin Luo's sword, felt a lingering fear in his heart. If this technique landed on his body, even if he had 10 lives, it wouldn't be enough. Su Zimo took a deep breath. Seeing that the situation had calmed down, he immediately took out the primordial spirit of the army vanquishing demon bandits from his storage bag. I have performed the soul-searching technique on this person. Whether he is black or white, I will have a public opinion. Everyone, please be my witnesses. As Su Zimo spoke, black lines appeared from the ball of light in his hand and entered the bearded man's soul. Kong Han was nervous. If the bearded man's memories were exposed, the reputation of the Imperial Army would suffer a great blow. Just then, a huge wave of pressure enveloped the area. It was as if dark clouds were pressing down on a city, causing one's heart to tremble. This power, Su Zimo frowned. A true immortal. As though he sensed something, Su Zimo glanced at the primordial spirit in his hand instinctively. Indeed, due to the invasion of the aura, his soul-searching technique on the bearded man had failed. All sorts of accidents could happen during the soul-searching technique, and it could not be interfered with by external forces. Although the soul-searching technique failed, the essence spirit of the army vanquishing demon bandits was weak and his life aura was faintly discernible. There was no way he could survive. In the end, the secrets in that person's memories were not made public. All of a sudden, Su Zimo felt a chill run down his spine, as though he was being targeted by some terrifying expert with a prickle in his back. Unknowingly, a man in heavy armor had already arrived and stood behind Su Zimo with a cold expression and an indifferent gaze. "Greetings, Commander Jiang." The surrounding Imperial Army soldiers knelt down one after another and greeted. One of the commanders of the Imperial Army of Langfeng City, Jiang Shenyu. Kong Han looked at Su Zimo with a mocking expression. In his opinion, Su Zimo was already a dead man. "You broke the order of the Immortal City and went against the Imperial Army on the streets. Your crimes are unforgivable." Jiang Xuanyo's gaze was cold as it swept past Su Zimo, Lin Luo, and the Mystic Mirror sect members. His voice was emotionless. "We're innocent." The Mystic Mirror sect members could not withstand the pressure and knelt on the ground, crying out for their innocence. Liang Yu also panicked and hurriedly explained, "Commander, this is a misunderstanding. It has nothing to do with us." Then he swallowed his saliva and pointed at Su Zimo and Lin Luo not far away. "It's them. They went against the Imperial Army. We didn't do anything from the beginning to the end." Lin Luo pursed her lips when she heard that. She was naturally disdainful of Liang Yu's reaction. However, she could also understand Liang Yu's actions under such pressure. Jiang Xuanyo's expression was indifferent and unmoved. The Mystic Mirror sect naturally has to bear the consequences of their crimes. At that moment, Su Zimo calmly took out a sect token from his storage bag and slowly hung it on his waist. Jiang Xuanyo's gaze swept across and could not help but frown. "Heaven and Earth Academy?" Jiang Shenyu murmured softly. Some heaven immortals might not recognize the symbol of Heaven and Earth Academy, but as a perfected immortal and the commander of Langfeng City, he naturally knew about Heaven and Earth Academy. Su Zimo said in a deep voice, "I'm Su Zimo of Heaven and Earth Academy from the Divine Firmament Immortal region. This is indeed a misunderstanding. This General Kong slandered us as demonic bandits, which led to the conflict. Heaven Immortal Bai Yu and I were only sparring at the same cultivation level. As a perfected immortal, does Commander Jiang also want to interfere in this matter?" Jiang Shenyu cursed in his heart. Although Heaven and Earth Academy was not in the Jade Firmament Immortal region, it was one of the 4 major sects of the Divine Firmament Immortal region. It was a sky-level sect with a strong foundation. This green-robed scholar in front of him had revealed his identity. He should be an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy. It was impossible for him to be a demonic bandit. Under the watchful eyes of so many people, as a perfected immortal, he naturally could not make a move without sufficient reason. Otherwise, it would definitely attract countless criticism. Jiang Xianyu was inwardly annoyed. If he had known this would happen, just now, he would have killed this kid the moment he appeared and not given him a chance to speak. Jiang Xuanyou's gaze turned and landed on Lin Luo, who was not far away. His heart stirred, and he said coldly, "Since you're a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy, I won't bicker with you first. However, this woman kidnapped my general. She deserves to die. She's also a disciple of my academy." Su Zimo knew that Lin Luo was unwilling to reveal her identity, so he hurriedly said, "Is that so?" Jiang Xianyu sneered slightly. "Take out your sect token and let me see it." Lin Luo looked troubled. She did not have the Heaven and Earth Academy's sect token. Just as she was hesitating, Jiang Xuanyou's killing intent surged. In an instant, he arrived beside Lin Luo and hollered, "B***, hand over your life." Sush! Jiang Xinyu attacked. A saber light flashed and arrived in an instant. This was a perfected immortal expert's attack. It was so fast that even Su Zimo could not react in time. All of a sudden, Lin Luo took a step to the side. 9 mysterious square diagrams seemed to appear beneath her feet, and she narrowly avoided the saber. A strand of black hair drifted down along with the saber light. It was a hair's breadth away from death. Lin Luo had escaped from death. Her face was pale from fright. This was a perfected immortal expert's attack. It was more like a sneak attack. If not for the movement technique that her mother had taught her, she would have been a corpse just now. After Jiang Xuanyou's saber landed, he did not continue to pursue. Instead, he stared at Lin Luo's feet and frowned. Green Firmament Immortal Domains Lin Family. Chapter 24-23. Jiang Xianyu was secretly shocked. The technique that the young girl had just used was obviously the 9 palace subtle steps. According to legend, this movement technique came from an ancient great emperor. Every step was carefully calculated and contained the mysteries of heaven and earth. This movement technique was not fast, and the steps were not big either. It was just a few millimeters, but one could find a fleeting chance of survival. Moreover, when this movement technique was used, there was no hint of panic or haste. Instead, it looked like she was taking a leisurely stroll. It was also said that the great emperor who created this movement technique was a woman. The 9 palace subtle steps had been lost for many years, but it had reappeared in the heaven realm in this life and was controlled by a celestial king from the green firmament's celestial realm. Others had no chance to cultivate it at all. "Who is Celestial King Ling Long to you?" Jiang Xinyu asked with a frown. "It's none of your business." Lin Luo had just walked through the gates of hell and was still traumatized. Naturally, he retorted in annoyance. Jiang Xinyu snorted but did not dare to act rashly. If this girl was related to Celestial King Ling Long, her status would be much more honorable than that of an inner disciple of the Qianquan Academy. "Commander Jiang, you can leave now." At this moment, another voice sounded. Hearing this voice, Jiang Xuanyou's body shook, as if he was afraid. He hurriedly knelt in the direction of the voice and bowed. "Greetings, City Lord." Not far away in the sky, a huge red-crowned crane sped over. On the crane's back, a long-haired man stood with his hands behind his back. He was handsome and had an extraordinary temperament. This man's hair ornaments, chest, and waist were all jade ornaments. He looked extraordinary. Su Zimo was also sizing him up. This man didn't look old, but he was already sitting in the position of City Lord. Although this man was also a true immortal, his realm and aura were obviously far superior to Jiang Xuanyou's. There were only 5 celestial cities in the entire Jade Firmament's celestial realm. To be able to become the City Lord of one of the celestial cities and control a group of true immortals, one could imagine how powerful this man was. "He is Song Xian, the City Lord of Langfeng City," Lin Luo said to Su Zimo via divine sense. Su Zimo asked, "Do you know him?" Lin Luo said, "I've met him once. He once fought with my brother, and it was a draw. He's one of my brother's rivals on the True Immortal ranking list during the 9 Firmaments Immortal Region meeting." Su Zimo nodded secretly. "Little sister Lin Luo, why didn't you tell me in advance that you would be coming?" Song Xian stood on the red-crowned crane and shook his head slightly. Fortunately, you're not injured. Otherwise, I wouldn't know how to explain to your brother if I met him again. Song Xian looked at Lin Luo somewhat reproachfully, but his tone was rather gentle, like a spring breeze. Lin Luo also smiled sweetly and said, I'm just passing by Langfeng City and will leave soon. It's the Feast of Peaches, and the geniuses of the 5 cities are gathering here. Senior Brother Song, as the city lord, you must be very busy, so I didn't disturb you at your residence. I just didn't expect that there would be a misunderstanding as soon as I entered the city, and it still alarmed you. As the daughter of the human emperor, Lin Luo's reply was quite polite. Just now, the conflict had been a matter of life and death, but she just played it down and didn't intend to pursue it. Song Xian's gaze fell on Jiang Xinyu, Kong Han, and the others. His face darkened slightly and he said softly, Do you know your mistakes? Kong Han opened his mouth, wanting to argue. On the other side, Jiang Xinyu was extremely decisive. He directly bowed and said, I know my mistakes. Please punish me, City Lord. Kong Han also hurriedly knelt down, not daring to say a word. It's good that you know your mistakes. Song Xian nodded slightly and said, Fortunately, little sister Lin Luo is unharmed. You didn't make a big mistake. Otherwise, even your lives wouldn't be enough to pay for it. Senior Brother Song, you're exaggerating. Lin Luo said with a smile. Su Zimo watched coldly from the sidelines and didn't say a word. Although the city lord of Langfeng City's words were harsh and pleasant, he was actually just punishing them lightly and punishing them with 3 cups of wine. The people of the Mystic Mirror sect were already dumbfounded and dumbfounded. In this period of time, they had experienced unimaginable ups and downs, constantly lingering on the edge of life and death. It wasn't easy for Liang Yu to make up his mind to cut ties with Su Zimo and Lin Luo. Unexpectedly, in the blink of an eye, the 2 of them seemed to have become the guests of honor of the city lord of Langfeng City. Song Xian's gaze swept and landed on Heaven Immortal Bai Yu, who was in a daze and depressed. He frowned subconsciously. He swept a glance and almost didn't recognize this person. What's wrong with him? Song Xian asked in a deep voice. As the number 1 Heaven Immortal of Langfeng City, Heaven Immortal Bai Yu was also someone that he thought highly of. This time, he had the chance to fight for a spot in the top 3 of the Heaven ranking. If nothing went wrong, he would definitely be able to step into the True One realm and become a perfected immortal. How did he end up in such a state with his lifespan almost exhausted? It's him. Kong Han hurriedly jumped out and pointed at the Su Zimo not far away. He's the one who attacked just now and injured fellow Taoist Bai Yu to such a state. Song Xian looked at Su Zimo with a calm expression and said indifferently, So, it's a disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy. What great means. Song Xian's attitude towards Su Zimo was clearly different from Lin Luo. It was much colder. City Lord, this matter, Kong Han probed. Lin Luo saw that the atmosphere was a little off and hurriedly said, Just now, Su Zimo and Heaven Immortal Bai Yu are fighting fairly. No one else is interfering. Yes. Song Xian nodded and said in a deep voice, Since it's a fair fight, Bai Yu is the one who's inferior. She can't blame anyone else for ending up in such a state. Given his status, an inner sect disciple of Heaven and Earth Academy was nothing to him. Even if he killed the other party, there wouldn't be much trouble. However, if he were to make a move against a level 5 heavenly immortal in public without any reason, he would definitely be criticized by others. The 2 of you follow me. Song Xian beckoned with his hand. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo and nodded slightly. Now that their identities were exposed, there was naturally no need for them to hide anymore. In a flash, the 2 of them soared into the air and stood on the back of the gigantic crane. Song Xian tapped gently with his feet and the crane flapped its wings and sped away. In the blink of an eye, it turned into a speck of light and vanished from everyone's sights. Now that the dust had settled, the cultivators on the long street gradually dispersed as well. Liang Yu was filled with regret. If he had not cut off the seats with Su Zimo earlier on, he might have had a chance to follow the city lord of Langfeng City. Right then, The imperial army that was initially around surrounded them once more. The leader was Kong Han. Liang Yu was shocked and asked hurriedly, "Colonel Kong Han, what are you doing?" "Just now, it's all a misunderstanding. We're not fiend bandits." Kong Han sneered, "It's a misunderstanding with those two, but not with you guys. Capture them and bring them back to the dungeon. I want to interrogate them personally." This time round, he was filled with anger and almost died in the hands of Lin Luo. He was even more frustrated that he had nowhere to vent. Furthermore, the people of Mystic Mirror Sect had most likely guessed that they were colluding with the fiend bandits, all the more he couldn't let them leave. Chapter 24-24. This Red Crown crane was very fast. In less than a quarter of an hour, it carried the three of them to the top of a grand palace and quickly descended. They were surrounded by a garden with winding stone paths, lush ancient trees, green bamboos, and vines. Everywhere they looked, life was abundant and the scenery was pleasant. Song Xian led the two of them through the garden. They could see rockery courtyards everywhere, gurgling water, and fish with golden scales jumping out of the lake from time to time. It was obviously not ordinary. Soon, the three of them came to a courtyard. Song Xian smiled and said, "It's the Feast of Peaches now. It's a rare event in the Jade Heaven celestial realm. There will be a competition for the Heaven list, and it's inevitable that geniuses and monsters will fight. You two came at the right time. Why don't you rest here for a few days?" Su Zimo and Lin Luo looked at each other. They could tell what the other was thinking and couldn't help but frown. Song Xian smiled and said, "Don't worry, this is the City Lord's mansion. There won't be any danger. You can rest assured." Lin Luo smiled and said, "Thank you for your kindness, senior brother Song. However, we have other things to do and would like to leave through the transmission formation of Lang Feng City." "Why are you in such a hurry?" Song Xian said, "If you two leave today, it'll seem like I'm neglecting you and not treating you well." After a pause, Song Xian looked at Lin Luo and said, "Moreover, I've cultivated a rare variant of the blood peach tree over the years. The blood peach is about to ripen soon. Although it's not as good as the peach of immortality in the Jade Heaven Palace, it's still a rare top-grade peach. I'd like to invite Brother Lin Lei to taste it. After the Feast of Peaches, you and your sister can leave together." Lin Luo's heart skipped a beat, and she quickly asked, "Is my brother coming too?" Song Xian said, "I've already sent out the invitation. It should be here soon." Lin Luo lowered her head slightly and hesitated. Deep in her heart, she really wanted to return to the Azure Firmament celestial realm as soon as possible. However, she could not refuse Song Xian's kindness. "All right." Lin Luo hesitated for a long time before reluctantly agreeing. Su Zimo remained silent at the side. He felt that there was something wrong with this Lang Feng City Lord, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Su Zimo remained calm and collected. Under Song Xian's arrangement, he and Lin Luo temporarily settled down here. Song Xian helped Su Zimo and Li Wuyo settle down, then left on the Red Crown crane. He took out a few message talismans from his storage pouch and sent them out. After pondering for a moment, Song Xian made his move. He arrived at the teleportation formation at the northeast corner of the City Lord's mansion and activated it, disappearing from Lang Feng City. The White Jade capital in the sky had 5 cities and 12 buildings. The so-called 12 buildings were not real pavilions, but more like magnificent palaces. Therefore, some people call them the 12 palaces. On this day, the teleportation formation in the 7th palace flickered, and a figure appeared. It was Song Xian of Lang Feng City. "Greetings, City Lord?" The guards here bowed when they saw Song Xian. One of them asked, "City Lord, what are you here for?" "I want to pay my respects to Master," Song Xian said in a deep voice. One of the guards replied, "The Palace Lord is in seclusion, and we dare not disturb him. City Lord, please, I have an important matter." Song Xian looked impatient. He waved his hand and interrupted him. "Take me into the palace. I will take responsibility if anything happens." The guards looked at each other, and one of them led Song Xian to the depths of the 7th palace. After a long time, in the depths of the 7th palace, a hoarse voice sounded. What happened that made you disturb Master's seclusion? Please forgive me, Master. Song Xian knelt on the ground and said in a deep voice, the daughter of the warlord, Lin Luo, and another celestial immortal are now in Langfeng City. I have made the decision to keep them here. The palace lord of the seventh palace murmured, as if he thought of something. Continue. Song Xian said, the warlord is seriously injured and is now a cripple. Over the years, the warlord kingdom of the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm has been unstable, with internal and external troubles. Now, there is only Immortal King Ling Long, and she can't do anything alone. She can only protect the warlord every day, and only by guarding the warlord kingdom can she barely keep it from falling. You are right. The palace lord of the seventh palace said, thousands of years ago, for some reason, Ling Long suddenly left the warlord kingdom for a period of time. Although it was not long, the warlord kingdom broke out in rebellion, and foreign enemies invaded, and it almost fell apart. Fortunately, Ling Long rushed back in the end to quell the rebellion and expel the strong enemies. Even so, after this battle, the warring state's kingdom suffered a great loss and suffered heavy losses. Lin Zhan and Ling Long's right-hand men also died in this battle. After a pause, the palace lord of the seventh palace laughed and said, hee hee. After that, Ling Long never left the warlord kingdom palace. Song Xian also laughed and said, so, as long as we can make Immortal King Ling Long leave the warlord kingdom palace again, the warlord kingdom will definitely fall. The palace lord of the seventh palace said, in the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm, the other immortal kingdoms have been eyeing the warlord kingdom covetously for a long time, and they want to divide it up. This is indeed a good opportunity. As long as I talk to those immortal kings, we can exchange this for a lot of benefits. Song Xian said, that's right. The warlord and immortal king Ling Long were born lowly, and the concept of equality in the upper realm and the lower realm should have been destroyed long ago. Even within the warlord kingdom, there are many experts who oppose them. What are your plans? The palace lord of the seventh palace asked. Song Xian pondered and said, I've already left Lin Luo in Langfeng City and sent people to guard her. She has no chance to leave at all. In a while, I'll send a message to Lin Lei. If he knows that his sister is with me, he will definitely come. At that time, I'll find an excuse to keep the siblings here. I don't believe that Immortal King Ling Long will leave them in the lurch. As long as Immortal King Ling Long appears in Langfeng City, the major forces in the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm will attack the Warlord Kingdom. At that time, they will join forces with the experts of the Warlord Kingdom, and the Warlord Kingdom will definitely be eliminated. However, if Immortal Ling Long appears in Langfeng City, at this point, Song Xian paused for a moment. Don't worry. The palace lord of the seventh palace said faintly, if an immortal king comes to Langfeng City, I will be the first to sense it. At that time, when the few of us join forces, Immortal Ling Long won't be able to escape even if she has the 9 palace subtle steps. Master is wise. Song Xian hurriedly flattered. That's a good plan. The palace lord of the seventh palace said, go back and make the arrangements. I will also inform the immortal kings in the Azure Firmament Immortal Realm and wait for the opportunity to take action. Remember, there can be no mistakes in this matter. Do it well. If you succeed, it will be a great merit. Song Xian was excited and full of confidence. He said firmly, Master, don't worry. I will consider every aspect and kill all variables. Alright. The palace lord of the seventh palace suddenly asked, you just said that there is another person beside Lin Luo. He is. Song Xian didn't care and said, this person is a disciple of the Divine Firmament Academy. He is only a stage 5 heaven immortal and can't cause any trouble. There is nothing to worry about. That's good. Chapter 24-25. Langfeng City, City Lord's residence. In a room in a courtyard, Su Zimo and Lin Luo were resting with their eyes closed. However, there was a hint of worry in Lin Luo's eyes and she seemed a little uneasy. Not long after, Su Zimo suddenly opened his eyes and said softly, something's not right. The city lord seems to be too polite to us. Lin Luo also turned to look and seemed to have realized something. That's true. I've only met him once and I've never heard Big Brother mention anything about us being friends. Let's go out and take a look, Su Zimo said and got up to open the door. Lin Luo followed quickly. The two of them had just walked out of the room when they sensed that there were many cultivators guarding the periphery of the courtyard. When they reached the entrance of the courtyard, Su Zimo saw a man in armor not far away with his back facing them and his arms crossed. That person turned around slowly. It was one of the commanders of Langfeng City, Jiang Xinyu. Where are the two of you going? Jiang Xinyu asked. Su Zimo's expression was calm as he replied casually, It's my first time in Langfeng City, so I'm just walking around. That's how it should be. Jiang Xinyu nodded and did not say anything else. However, Su Zimo and Lin Luo did not walk far before they realized that Jiang Xinyu was following closely behind them with a group of Imperial guards. After a while, Su Zimo suddenly stopped and turned around. He smiled at Jiang Xinyu and said, Commander Jiang, you have an important position. There's no need to pay attention to us. The two of us are just looking around. Jiang Xinyu said, The city lord has instructed that the two of you are guests of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain and that I'll bring my men to protect the two of you. There can't be any more mishaps. Lin Luo sneered in her heart and could not help but say, What danger can there be in Langfeng City? Nothing is absolute. Just in case. Jiang Xinyu said expressionlessly. It did not seem like he was protecting them but guarding them. Su Zimo and Wang Chong knew this, but they couldn't say anything. Even if they shed all pretense of cordiality on the spot, it would be useless. Jiang Xinyu was a true immortal. Even if the two of them joined forces, they would still be no match for him. Not to mention, there was a group of Imperial Army soldiers around them. Su Zimo and Wang Chong casually walked around Langfeng City. With Jiang Xinyu and the other Imperial Army soldiers guarding them, no one dared to approach them and had long since avoided them. Under such circumstances, the two of them were not in the mood to stroll around and returned to the courtyard early. What does Jiang Xinyu want to do? Lin Luo returned to her room. She was furious and couldn't help but say, What kind of protection is this? He's clearly monitoring us. This is probably Song Xian's intention. Su Zimo closed his eyes and sensed for a long time. Then he said slowly, Jiang Xinyu is not the only true immortal in the vicinity of this courtyard. There should be more than 10 of them. Although his divine sense could not detect these true immortals, Qinglian's 5 senses were sharp and her spiritual sense was terrifying. She could vaguely sense a dozen of faintly discernible powerful auras. So many true immortals? Lin Luo was secretly shocked. Her expression was grave as she murmured softly, What exactly does Song Xian want to do? Su Zimo pondered and said, More than 10 true immortals are guarding nearby. I'm afraid it's not as simple as monitoring. It's more like imprisonment. Imprisonment. Lin Luo's expression changed as she seemed to have thought of something. She hurriedly took out a message talisman from her storage bag and whispered, I have to send a message to Big Brother and tell him not to come. Although Lin Luo did not understand Song Xian's intention, she already knew that something was wrong and wanted to stop Lin Lei from coming. I'm afraid it's useless. Su Zimo shook his head slightly and said, If Song Xian really wants to imprison us, he will naturally cut off your communication channel with the outside world. Just as expected. Lin Luo silently cast a spell and tore the message talisman apart. The contents of the message talisman turned into a ball of light and did not escape into the void. Instead, it hovered in the room. Before long, it dissipated as well. The communication failed. Lin Luo clenched her fists instinctively. She was worried and helpless, not knowing what to do for a moment. There must be some sort of restriction array formation set up around this courtyard that could prevent any information from being transmitted. There was no solution to this. Even if they left the courtyard, they would be under the surveillance of Jiang Xinyu and the other true immortals. Even if Lin Luo could take out a message talisman, it would be interrupted and she would not be able to send a message out. Su Zimo, on the other hand, appeared rather calm. In his storage bag, he still had a teleportation jade badge that the Patriarch of the Academy had given him back then. This was his escape route and what he was relying on. Even if Song Xian was present, as long as he crushed the teleportation jade badge, he would be able to leave this place with Lin Luo and return to Qiankuan Academy, let alone a dozen true immortals. At that time, Lin Luo would be able to use the teleportation array of the Academy to return to the Green Firmament Immortal Domain. The teleportation jade badge was a life-saving measure. Unless it was a last resort, he would naturally not take it out immediately. Su Zimo was about to tell Lin Luo about this matter to comfort her when Lin Luo suddenly stood up and said softly, "Let's go out and test it out again. We'll say that we're going to the teleportation array in the city and see how Jiang Xianyu reacts." Lin Luo was still unwilling to believe this and still held on to a glimmer of hope. "All right." Su Zimo nodded and left the room with Lin Luo, arriving at the entrance of the courtyard. Jiang Xianyu, who was not far away, immediately welcomed them. With a cold expression, he asked, "Where are the two of you going?" "Where's the teleportation array in the city?" Lin Luo asked directly. A strange look appeared in Jiang Xuanyou's eyes, but it quickly disappeared. He said indifferently, "It's the Feast of Peaches now. The timing is special, so the teleportation array in the city is temporarily closed and cannot be used." Hearing this, Lin Luo no longer had any doubts in her heart. They had been placed under house arrest by Song Xian. Jiang Xianyu said, "During the Feast of Peaches, the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain's Heaven Roll competition, which occurs once every 100,000 years, is in full swing. If the two of you are interested, I can accompany you to take a look." "Not interested." Lin Luo replied coldly and said, "Let's go." After that, Su Zimo and Lin Luo turned around and walked towards the room. Jiang Xianyu looked at their backs with a mocking expression. He raised his eyebrows slightly and said loudly, "The city lord said that if the two of you are not interested in the Feast of Peaches, you can also take a seat at the Feast of Blood Peaches." All these years, the city lord has painstakingly cultivated a mutated blood peach tree. The fruit is about to ripen. If the two of you are interested, I can also take you to take a look. It's a rare opportunity. Lin Luo snorted coldly and walked ahead. She was upset and worried about her family. How could she be in the mood to visit the peach tree? However, Su Zimo's heart skipped a beat. He frowned and gradually stopped in his tracks. He narrowed his eyes slightly and his expression was uncertain. No one knew what he was thinking. "What's wrong?" Lin Luo asked subconsciously when she saw Su Zimo's strange expression. Su Zimo ignored her and slowly turned around. He looked at Jiang Xianyu, who was not far away, and asked with a smile, "Commander Jiang, what's the blood peach tree you mentioned just now?" Jiang Xianyu did not think much of it and said, "This peach tree of peaches was originally a superior immortal seedling. After the city lord nourished it with the blood of the humanoid peach spirit, this peach tree of peaches was reborn and evolved into a mutated tree. It's no exaggeration to say that this blood peach tree is the only one in the heaven realm and even the entire upper realm." Jiang Xianyu raised his head slightly and said proudly. He did not notice that Su Zimo's face gradually darkened. Chapter 24-26. Lin Luo was completely uninterested in the blood peach tree. However, seeing that Su Zimo's expression was not right, she did not say anything and just observed silently from the side. Su Zimo realized that he had lost his composure. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. His expression quickly returned to normal. Although he had thought of a possibility, it had not been completely confirmed. Su Zimo asked, "Commander Jiang, just now, what is this human-shaped peach spirit that you mentioned? How did it make a peach tree sprout transform again?" Jiang Xianyu said, "Since ancient times, due to the unique characteristics of the peach tree race, there have been very few precedents of them being able to transform into human form. It has nothing to do with cultivation realm. However, no one knows what kind of opportunity this peach tree has obtained or what kind of Tao it has inherited. It can actually transform into human form at will. Therefore, the city lord calls it the peach spirit." Lin Luo gradually came to her senses and frowned. She could not help but say, "This peach tree has already gained sentience and can even transform into human form. It is no different from a human. Song Xian is using its blood to nourish and nurture other peach trees. Isn't that too cruel? Ha! Jiang Xianyu chuckled and said with disdain, "This peach spirit has only ascended from the lower realm. Its status is lowly. The city lord is giving him this opportunity because he thinks highly of him. This is also the city lord's gift." Hearing this, Su Zimo no longer had any doubts in his heart. He had heard Song Xian mention the blood peach tree once before. At that time, he did not think much of it. Now that Jiang Xianyu mentioned it again, he thought of Momo. Momo had ascended long ago, even before her true self. However, all these years, there had been no news. After all, the 9 heavens immortal domain and the entire heaven realm were too big. Moreover, the heaven realm was only one of the 3,000 realms. Su Zimo had once thought that Momo could be considered part of the demon race and could possibly ascend to the great wasteland domain. However, just now, he had suddenly thought of another possibility. There was an immortal peach tree in the Jade Heaven immortal domain that gathered the chi of heaven and earth. In this immortal domain, there were peach trees everywhere. Their attraction to Momo was even more obvious. The possibility of Momo ascending to the Jade Heaven immortal realm was the highest. Ascending from the lower realm is lowly? Lin Luo's expression turned cold. Jiang Xianyu raised his eyebrows slightly. He seemed to have just remembered that Lin Luo's parents had both ascended from the lower realm. He explained, "I misspoke. The city lord used his blood to nourish the immortality peach seedling. His identity in the lower realm was only one of the reasons. Most importantly, it's because this peach spirit belongs to the devil domain." "Someone from the devil domain?" Lin Luo frowned. Jiang Xianyu said, "In recent years, a true devil called Araki Takashi has risen to prominence in the devil domain. Have you heard of him?" "I've heard of it." Lin Luo nodded. 1,000 years ago, the news of the battle in the devil domain had spread throughout the heaven domain. However, almost no one believed the rumors of 10 heavenly tribulations or the fact that one person had single-handedly destroyed an army of 1,000,000 demons and killed the 4 true devils of the true devil ranking, including the supreme true devil. It sounded too exaggerated and exceeded the common knowledge of the heaven domain. When the emperors of old reached the true self realm, they would attract 9 heavenly tribulations. That was already the limit. How could there be a 10th heavenly tribulation? The cultivators discussed it for a while before throwing it to the back of their minds. Jiang Xianyu continued, "That peach spirit personally admitted that he came from the same place as Araki Takashi and was once Araki Takashi's disciple. Since ancient times, immortals and demons have been at odds. The city lord only used his blood to deal with the disciple of a true devil. He was already merciful by not taking his life." Su Zimo, who had been silent for a long time, suddenly asked, "Where's the blood peach tree? Why, are you interested?" Jiang Xianyu said, "Not today. The blood peach banquet has already ended. I'll take you two to take a look tomorrow." Su Zimo replied and turned to leave. When he returned to his room, his expression was cold and his eyes were surging with a strong killing intent that was about to burst out. Lin Luo was shocked when she saw Su Zimo's expression. She had never seen Su Zimo reveal such a terrifying killing intent. Lin Luo thought for a while and asked tentatively, "Why, do you know that peach spirit?" Su Zimo replied and did not explain further. He went to the bed and sat cross-legged, closing his eyes and deep in thought. He had originally planned to take Lin Luo with him and use the teleportation jade token given to him by the patriarch of the academy to leave this place if the situation was not right. But now, since he knew that Momo was imprisoned and was suffering great torture, he could not just take Lin Luo with him. However, Song Xian would host the Blood Peach banquet tomorrow and there would definitely be many perfected immortals present. Even if he could see Momo, it would be difficult for him to rescue Momo. Not to mention, he would leave with Lin Luo and Momo under the gaze of Song Xian and the other perfected immortals. Qinglian's true body was only a level 5 heaven immortal and her strength was limited in this situation. Furthermore, not only did he have to rescue Momo, he also had to settle the score for Momo. The situation here could only be resolved if Wu Dao's true body came out. Normally speaking, the two true bodies cultivated separately and did not interfere with each other. Although Qinglian's true body had encountered countless dangers since ascending, she had never thought of alarming Wu Dao's true body. However, this matter involved Momo and was of great importance. Su Zimo could not care less and directly summoned Wu Dao's true body, who was far away in the demon territory. Demon territory, Heaven Baron sect. In the secret cultivation chamber, Wu Dao's true body suddenly opened his eyes. Divine light burst forth from his eyes and quickly receded, returning to normal. Something happened to Momo? Wu Dao's true body got up and pushed the door open. All these years, he had been forging the true Wu Dao body and was at a critical moment in seclusion. His true Wu Dao body was about to reach greater mastery. However, after receiving this news, Wu Dao's true body did not hesitate and gave up the opportunity to break through and came out of seclusion. Momo's position in his heart was self-evident. On that night many years ago, Su Zimo was not the only one who stepped into cultivation when Daiyu passed down the Dao technique. Momo also inherited the Dao technique and merged with Zhui Feng's soul to become psychic. To him, Momo was not only an old friend of Heaven Baron sect, but also a family member who had witnessed him step into cultivation and accompanied him until he finally ascended. Su Zimo was not willing to let Momo suffer any harm. "Master, what's the matter?" At the door of the secret cultivation chamber, Sky Wolf was stimulated by the killing intent on Wu Dao's true body and instantly woke up and asked subconsciously. Wu Dao's true body slightly glanced in the direction of Feng Cantian's secret cultivation chamber. He pondered for a while and did not wake him up. According to the news sent by Qinglian's true body, although there were many true immortals in Langfeng City, there were no immortal kings. If Feng Cantian followed and erupted with immortal king-level power, it was very likely to alarm the immortal king experts in the 12 palaces. At that time, the situation would be even more difficult to control. "I'm going out," Wu Dao's true body said and sped off into the distance. Not long after, he came to the teleportation formation of the Heaven Baron sect and activated it. Soon, he arrived at the border between the Demon Domain and the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. The teleportation formations between the 9 Firmament Immortal Domains were interconnected. As long as one had some sect tokens, imprints, and divine sense, one could freely teleport. Wu Dao's true body came from the Demon Domain and could not directly descend to the teleportation formation in Langfeng City. He could only come here indirectly and then set off for Langfeng City. Chapter 24-27. In the city lord's residence, Su Zimo and Lin Luo were both occupied with their own thoughts and did not speak for the entire night. The next morning, footsteps could be heard outside the door. Su Zimo and Lin Luo exchanged glances before pushing the door open. Standing at the door was Jiang Xinyu and a group of Imperial Army guards under him. "Please follow me," Jiang Xinyu said and led the way. Su Zimo and Lin Luo followed behind. After walking for a while in the city lord's residence, they arrived at a huge palace. The palace was a little strange. It was surrounded on all sides and was hollow in the middle. From the outside, one could see the tip of a Saturn peach tree in the middle of the palace. Under Jiang Xuanyou's lead, Su Zimo and Lin Luo stepped into the main hall. The main hall was bustling with noise and excitement. At a glance, there were thousands of cultivators gathered here and they were discussing fervently. Most importantly, the auras of these thousands of cultivators were powerful and they were all perfected immortals. Song Xian had invited most of the perfected immortals in the 5 cities for the Blood Peach Banquet, and it was a grand occasion. With thousands of perfected immortals in the main hall, even if they did nothing, they would form an invisible and powerful aura. If heavenly immortals were here, they would inevitably feel guilty and fearful. The heavenly immortal Imperial Army guards behind Jiang Xinyu did not dare to step forward at all and they looked fearful. Jiang Xinyu sneered in his heart and looked at Su Zimo and Lin Luo behind him, wanting to see them make a fool of themselves. However, the outcome disappointed him greatly. Lin Luo had a calm expression. This young girl did not seem to be intimidated by such a formation. Jiang Xinyu thought about it. Lin Luo was the daughter of an immortal king after all, and she had been by his side for many years. Naturally, she was knowledgeable and her Dao heart was strong. It was understandable. What puzzled him was why Su Zimo was so calm and composed as well. Although this kid came from Heaven and Earth Academy, he was only a level 5 heavenly immortal, an outer court disciple. How could he deal with such a situation? At this moment, many cultivators were gathered at the side of the hall, and they were looking at the tall and thick immortal peach tree at the center of the hall while pointing and discussing animatedly with excited expressions. At the front of the crowd stood 5 people. One of them was the city lord of Langfeng City, Song Xian. Jiang Xinyu led Su Zimo and Lin Luo in that direction. Through the crowd, they could see the peaches on the peach tree that were covered in blood. They swayed slightly and looked extremely strange. I have the honor of tasting a xenogenic blood peach. Thank you, Brother Song. Among the 5, the man on the far left wore a long blue robe. His long hair draped over his shoulders, and he held a jade folding fan in his hand. Sure, Song Xian said. Naturally, I wouldn't monopolize such a worldly variant. The first thing I thought of was the 4 of you. The other 4 smiled and expressed their thanks. Lin Luo sent a voice transmission to Su Zimo with her consciousness. The other 4 are the city lords of the remaining 4 cities in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. The man on the far left is the city lord of Cheonghua City, known as Young Master Lantian. The tall one on his right is the city lord of Hanging Cattail City, Hongshan. The one in the middle is Song Xian, and the woman on his right is the city lord of Bright Candle City, Fairy Nanying. The skinny man on the far right is the city lord of Heaven Wall City, Gu Xiu. Su Zimo nodded secretly. If he was not mistaken, these 5 city lords should be the 5 strongest true immortals in the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain. According to their positions, Song Xian should be the leader of the 5. The 5 city lords of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain had gathered. Su Zimo and Lin Luo followed behind Jiang Xinyu. They passed through the crowd of true immortals and continued forward. The closer they got, the clearer they could see. Su Zimo's gaze went past the 5 city lords. In the corner of the hall, there was a stone pillar. There was a skinny figure tied up by chains, leaning against the stone pillar. Although the figure had its head lowered and its messy hair covered most of its face, Su Zimo could still recognize it at a glance. It was Momo. Momo looked even skinnier than when he was in the lower realm. He was like a bag of bones, and his exposed skin was pale without any color. Even the chains tied to his body were thicker than his arm. It was hard to imagine how much torture and pain he had endured all these years. Momo was different from all the other cultivators in the world. Up till now, Momo's hands had not been stained with any blood. Momo had fought and killed with others. In fact, he had even devoured large amounts of life essence in blood to cultivate. However, he had never killed any living being. Regardless of whether the other party was good or evil, immortal or fiend, Momo had never killed them. Among the thousands of living beings that could ascend from the lower realm, regardless of whether they were good or evil, who did not have blood in their hands, who did not have corpses beneath their feet. However, Momo himself was an anomaly. He had never killed and his body was not tainted by karma. Even if someone released the red lotus karmic fire on Momo, it would not have any effect. Yet, such a pure child who could not bear to kill and was not tainted by karma was enduring such pain right now. Immediately after, Su Zimo saw another scene. He could not help but shudder as a murderous intent flashed through his eyes. The immortality peach tree in the middle of the hall extended slender branches that extended towards the stone pillar and pierced Momo's body. Every single branch was like a bloodthirsty worm that was devouring Momo's blood in large mouthfuls. Momo had long fainted. At this moment, he was trapped on the stone pillar and his body twitched uncontrollably. Even though Lin Luo did not know Momo, she could not bear to see this scene and frowned. Lin Luo sensed the killing intent from Su Zimo and was shocked. She grabbed Su Zimo's hand hurriedly and grabbed it forcefully. Su Zimo glanced sideways with bloodshot eyes. Lin Luo looked into his eyes and shook her head gently, indicating for him not to be rash. At this moment, If Su Zimo rushed forward and fought with his life on the line, he might not even be able to touch the corner of Song Xian's clothes before he was killed on the spot. With thousands of perfected immortal experts, any one of them could kill Su Zimo. Su Zimo closed his eyes and took a deep breath, trying to calm himself down. Qinglian's true body could not save Momo. She could only wait for Wu Dao's true body to arrive. After Wu Dao's true body entered the Jade Heaven Immortal Domain, he sped at full speed. After a while, he would reach Langfeng City. Although Su Zimo had restrained his killing intent, Song Xian's senses were extremely sharp. He seemed to have sensed something and turned around to take a look. Seeing nothing, Song Xian turned around and waved his hand gently. He scolded, "That's enough. Don't suck this peach spirit to death." The immortality peach tree seemed to understand Song Xian's words. Although it was unwilling, it retracted its branches bit by bit. Instantly, a few bloody holes appeared on Momo's body. However, his physique was strong and his bloodline was extraordinary. Before long, the bloody holes had closed and stopped bleeding. Chapter 24-28. The city lord of Hanging Cattail City, Hongshan, had a strange look in his eyes when he saw this scene. He realized that Momo was extraordinary and suddenly said, "Brother Song, this blood peach tree has already matured. This peach spirit is useless to you. Why don't you give it to me? Of course, I can exchange it with treasures. It depends on what Brother Song wants." Song Xian smiled and said, "Brother Hongshan, this peach spirit is rare in the world. Its aptitude and talent are superior. It's a priceless treasure. I can't bear to give it away." Seeing Song Xian's firm tone, Hongshan laughed and did not mention it again. Song Xian turned around and looked at the thousands of perfected immortals in the hall. He said loudly, "Fellow Taoists, the number of blood peaches is limited. I'll have to trouble you to share one with each of you. City Lord Song is too polite." "Thank you, City Lord," the thousands of perfected immortals said. Song Xian waved his hand. Young women carrying jade trays walked into the hall with light steps. On those trays, there were pieces of cut blood peaches. The surface of the fruit was covered with blood vessels. The juice was sticky and blood red, but it emitted a rich fragrance and vitality. The thousands of perfected immortals looked at the blood peaches on the trays with excited expressions. Even if it was a fruit from a normal immortal peach tree, it could extend a cultivator's lifespan, strengthen their physique, and strengthen their true essence. Mutated blood peaches like this would definitely be more effective for everyone. Su Zimo's expression was cold and he did not say a word. Lin Luo looked at the blood peaches and frowned. When she thought that these blood peaches were born from the blood of the thin boy, she felt disgusted. Deep disgust flashed in her eyes. "Don't worry." Song Xian looked at Hongshan, young Master Lan Tian, and said with a smile, "With our friendship, the four of you will naturally be able to taste the complete blood peaches." "Thank you, Brother Song." Young Master Lan Tian waved his feather fan. Hongshan licked his lips. He was already a little impatient. Fairy Nanyang said softly, "Today, we will definitely do our best to complete the task Brother Song has entrusted us with." Song Xian nodded in satisfaction. Then, he turned his gaze to Su Zimo and Lin Luo, who were walking towards them. "Fellow cultivators, allow me to introduce you. This young lady is the daughter of the Battle Emperor and Immortal Emperor Ling Long, Lin Lei's sister, Lin Luo." Song Xian waved at Lin Luo with a smile. "So you have such a family background. No wonder you have such an extraordinary temperament." Fairy Nanyang faintly smiled and praised. "Yes, she's a beauty." Young Master Lan Tian nodded slightly. Hongshan grinned widely and said, "So it's Lin Lei's sister. No wonder she looks a little familiar. Speaking of which, I kind of miss your brother." The remaining Heaven Wall City Lord, Gu Xiu, was silent and did not speak. He only raised his eyes to look at Lin Luo with an indifferent expression. Although these city lords were praising her, Lin Luo could feel that these people were looking at her strangely. "Greetings to the 5 city lords." Lin Luo cupped her hands slightly. After all, they had not shed all pretense of cordiality. On the surface, she still had to be perfunctory. Fairy Nanyang's eyes moved and looked at Su Zimo's face. She asked, "Who is this little brother? Why do you look so unfamiliar?" "He is." Song Xian suddenly realized that he did not know Su Zimo's name. However, he was not interested in knowing. After pausing for a moment, he casually said, "Qiankuan Academy's inner disciple." Fairy Nanyang smiled and said, "No wonder you're like a bookworm. You have a cold face and look silly. You didn't even greet us." The city lords had already checked that Su Zimo's cultivation was only a stage 5 heaven immortal. Naturally, they did not put him in their eyes. Lin Luo could not help but ask, "My brother didn't come? He should be here soon." Song Xian smiled and said, "Don't worry. When your brother arrives, today's Blood Peach banquet will officially begin. Of course, you and your brother will have the chance to taste the mutated blood peaches that I carefully cultivated." "I don't want to eat." Lin Luo frowned. At this moment, there were already maids carrying a few complete blood peaches and delivering them to Song Xian and the rest. Hong Shan first took a blood peach and carelessly wiped it. He smiled and said, "Little girl, this kind of blood peach is a rare treasure in the world. If you eat one, it will probably help you advance by a small realm." "Then I won't eat it." Lin Luo's tone was decisive and her face was filled with resistance. Young Master Lan Tian and the rest looked at each other and sneered. Hong Shan could not help but urge, "Brother Song, why don't we eat first? Don't wait for Lin Lei." Su Zimo, who had been silent at the side, suddenly opened his mouth and said faintly, "I advise you guys not to eat it either." This sudden voice sounded a little ear-piercing in this peaceful and harmonious atmosphere. The originally noisy hall gradually quieted down. Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. The gazes of thousands of true immortals were all focused on Su Zimo, condensing an unimaginably huge pressure. "What did you say just now? I didn't hear it clearly." Hong Shan could not help but raise his eyebrows and stare at Su Zimo, asking in an unfriendly tone. Su Zimo was expressionless and said word by word, "You guys better not touch these blood peaches. Otherwise, you will suffer a great calamity." Young Master Lantan and the rest saw that Su Zimo was so calm and suddenly felt guilty and uneasy. Song Xian was unmoved and asked indifferently, "What great calamity? I'd like to hear the details." Su Zimo said, "I heard that this blood peach tree was nurtured from the blood of that peach spirit, and that peach spirit is a boy by Araki Takashi's side." "So?" Song Xian continued asking. Su Zimo glared at Song Xian and said slowly, "Therefore, Araki Takashi will definitely not let this matter rest. He will definitely come and settle scores with you. No one who eats the blood peach will be able to escape." The hall fell into a short period of silence, and not a single sound could be heard. Then, a thunderous roar of laughter broke out. "Ha! I'm dying of laughter. I was wondering what great calamity he was talking about when he said it so horribly. So, he was talking about Araki Takashi of the Fiend Domain. What a fuss. That Araki Takashi bragged so much about 9 tribulations and 10 tribulations, but in fact, he has just stepped into the true One realm. That's right. Yenzue and the others must have been killed by that demon king of heaven's wrath. It's impossible for them to die in his hands." In the hall, many true immortals were full of smiles as they discussed. Their expressions were relaxed and they were completely relaxed. Hong Shan rolled his eyes and bit down on the blood peach. His mouth was filled with blood as he cursed, "What dogsh asterisk T desolate marshal? He's just famous. If he dares to look for me, I'll slap him to death." Fairy Nanyang let out a sigh of relief. It was a false alarm. Thinking about how she was almost scared by this level 5 heavenly immortal, she couldn't help but laugh at herself. "Ha!" Song Xian also laughed and looked at Su Zimo with ridicule. He shook his head and said, "Are all the disciples of Qiankuan Academy so naive and ignorant? Do you know where this is?" Without waiting for Su Zimo to answer, Song Xian shouted, "Under your feet is one of the 5 cities of the Jade Firmament Immortal Domain, Lang Feng City. Now is the Feast of Immortality Peaches and the Heaven List competition. There are 5 city lords and thousands of true immortals gathered together. There are countless heavenly immortals. Even if Araki Takashi has the guts, he wouldn't dare to take half a step into Langfeng City. End of chapter. Chapter 24-29. Little scholar from Chenkuan Academy, let me tell you something. Fairy Nanyang chuckled and said, not to mention that Araki Takashi has just entered the true first realm. Since ancient times, not even the supreme true demons have dared to run wild in the hinterland of the 9 Clouds immortal region. The Lord of Gushio City suddenly said coldly, unless Araki Takashi wants to die. Right at this moment, a low and deep voice sounded from outside the hall. If Araki Takashi from the demon region is willing to come to Langfeng City for the sake of a child, then he's a real man. Hearing this voice, Lin Luo's heart trembled. She was excited, but there was a mixture of joy and worry between her eyebrows. Everyone looked over towards the source of the voice, and they saw a tall and robust man walking over with large strides from outside the hall. His long hair fluttered in the wind, and every single step he took carried a magnanimous and heroic aura. If I'm not mistaken, this should be Lin Luo's brother, Lin Lei. Su Zimo thought. Sizzle. The man was dragging a pitch-black and heavy halberd. The sharp tip of the halberd streaked across the ground, causing sparks to fly everywhere. It made an ear-piercing sound. The man dragged the halberd over like this. Many true immortals in the hall were intimidated by this man's aura. They were frozen in place for a moment. Only Song Xian and the other 4 city lords looked normal. There was even a trace of pride and excitement in their eyes. Brother! Lin Luo shouted. She wanted to go forward, but she was suddenly suppressed by several powerful divine senses. She couldn't move. Lin Lei, you're too late. We've been waiting for a long time. Hong Shan laughed loudly. Young Master Lan Tian waved his jade fan and said with a smile, Brother Lin is even more elegant than before after we parted at the continent of the 9 Clouds last time. What are you doing? Lin Lei noticed the movements of Song Xian and the others. His eyes narrowed and his face darkened as he asked slowly. Song Xian chuckled and said, Lin Lei, I invited you to the Blood Peach banquet out of goodwill, but you rushed in with the black mysterious halberd. I want to ask, what do you want? Bring my sister home. Lin Lei's tone was resolute. It was as if metal and stone were striking each other, sonorous and powerful. Brother, there's him too. Bring him along. As Lin Luo spoke, she turned her eyes, indicating that Lin Lei should also save Su Zimo. Lin Lei glanced at Su Zimo from the corner of his eye and frowned. He didn't even know if he could save Lin Luo this time, let alone adding another person. The siblings' thoughts were connected. Lin Luo seemed to see Lin Lei's hesitation and hurriedly said, He also came from the lower world and saved me. Lin Lei didn't say a word. He didn't agree or disagree, but he didn't think so. He just glanced around and saw that the cultivator called Su Zimo was only a 5th stage immortal. With Lin Luo's means and the 9 palace subtle steps, why would she need a 5th stage immortal to save her? Lin Lei concluded that Lin Luo was lying. And Lin Luo was so nervous about this person that she didn't hesitate to lie to cover it up. What was her relationship with this person? Could it be? The thought flashed through Lin Lei's mind. He looked at Su Zimo with a look of scrutiny and even resistance. This person looked very weak. His body and bloodline were relatively weak. His cultivation level wasn't high either. There was nothing special about him. In his opinion, this person was far from being good enough for his sister. Moreover, Lin Lei just now heard that Su Zimo was threatening Song Xian and the others, saying that Araki Takashi from the demon domain would come and that a disaster was imminent. This action might be out of justice, but it was too childish. Why would Araki Takashi from the demon domain come to Langfeng City of the Jade Heaven immortal domain for a Dao child? Even if Araki Takashi came, how could he be a threat to the perfected immortals in the hall, let alone an imminent disaster? This person's cultivation level wasn't high. He didn't have any abilities, he was bookish, impulsive, and childish. Lin Lei's first impression of Su Zimo was very bad. Seeing that Lin Luo was so worried about this person, Lin Lei's impression of Su Zimo dropped a little. There's no hurry to go home. Fairy Nanyang smiled. The blood peaches are ready, we're just waiting for you to come. It won't be too late to wait until the blood peach banquet is over. At the banquet, many perfected immortals had already started tasting the blood peaches. What blood peach banquet? I'm not interested. Lin Lei replied coldly, staring at Song Xian and the others with an unfriendly expression. Let my sister come here. What? Song Xian's face darkened, he narrowed his eyes and said coldly, as the city lord of Langfeng City, I invited Brother Lin to a banquet with many perfected immortals from the Jade Heaven Immortal Domain. Does Brother Lin not plan to stay? Lin Lei, you're so arrogant. Do you really think there's no one in the Jade Heaven Immortal Domain? Gu Xiu shouted coldly and threw the jade plate in his hand to the ground. It shattered with a bang. Many perfected immortals at the banquet stood up one after another, emitting powerful auras. They put their palms on their storage bags and stared at Lin Lei with unfriendly eyes. In an instant, the atmosphere in the main hall became tense. An unimaginably huge pressure fell upon Lin Lei's body. Lin Lei's expression did not change, but he gripped the black mysterious war halberd even tighter. The current situation was more serious and dangerous than he had imagined. If it was just Song Xian alone, he would naturally have nothing to fear. But the 5 city lords were gathered here. Once they joined forces, he would definitely be no match for them. Moreover, there were thousands of perfected immortals. He could not withstand such great pressure and could only take a step back. Lin Lei took a deep breath and said, I can attend the blood peach banquet, but you have to let go of Lin Luo and let her come to me. That won't do. Song Xian laughed and said, if Brother Lin goes back on his words at the last minute and takes out a transportation jade talisman or something like that and suddenly leaves with Sister Lin Luo, we won't be able to stop him. Lin Lei was annoyed in his heart. He had originally planned to tear up the transportation jade talisman and return to the Qingshao immortal realm with Lin Luo. He did not want to be entangled with Song Xian and the others. However, Song Xian and the others seemed to have seen through his intentions and did not give him a chance at all. Lin Lei asked in a deep voice, when will your blood peach banquet end? That's hard to say. Song Xian laughed and said, that depends on Brother Lin. What do you mean? Lin Lei frowned and asked. Song Xian said leisurely, I heard that the War King was seriously injured and died. Immortal King Ling Long is guarding him. The Warring States Kingdom is in a precarious situation. I'm also very worried. I have a suggestion that can help the Warring States Kingdom get through this crisis. Lin Lei just looked at Song Xian and said nothing. Song Xian said, I have a younger brother. He is still young, but he is already a stage 4 heavenly immortal. He is also considered a genius. I see that your sister and my brother are about the same age and cultivation realm. Why don't they become Dao companions? It can be considered a match made in heaven. The War King and Immortal King Ling Long are both busy. As long as Brother Lin agrees to let your sister and my brother become Dao companions, after the wedding, Brother Lin can naturally take your sister and leave. Wonderful! Hong Shan clapped his hands and said with a smile, the two of them can be considered a golden boy and jade girl, a perfect match, and well matched in terms of social status. With such a marriage alliance, the Warring States Kingdom can also receive Brother Song's full support. End of chapter. Chapter 2430. Lin Luo was worried that Lin Lei would agree to it in a moment of folly. She quickly said, no. I already have a cultivation partner. It's him. Lin Luo looked at Su Zimo. Are you kidding me? Song Xian could not help but laugh. He did not think much of it. With his eyesight, he could naturally see that Lin Luo was still a virgin. Lin Luo defended herself. The two of us have already pledged ourselves to each other. Enough. Lin Lei shouted and glared at Su Zimo. Then, he looked coldly at Song Xian and the rest and said slowly, the Lin family will settle the matter of the Warring States period. We don't need outsiders to help us. And we won't sacrifice Lin Luo in exchange for anyone's support. Your useless brother is not even fit to carry my sister's shoes. Lin Lei could see that Song Xian and the rest had no intention of letting them leave so easily. The marriage alliance was just an excuse. Lord Lan Tian smiled wickedly and said mockingly, judging from Brother Lin's tone, "You don't like Brother Song's brother. How about this? How about you betroth your sister to me? After you betroth her to me, I will definitely dote on her." There was a burst of laughter in the hall. Lin Luo's face was flushed red, and she was furious. This was not just teasing her in front of Lin Lei, it was an insult to the Lin family. Everyone knew that Lord Lan Tian had many wives and concubines. Lin Luo was the daughter of 2 deity kings after all. How could she be reduced to such a state? "Lantan." Lin Lei lowered his eyebrows slightly and called out softly. "What?" Young Master Lan Tian smiled. "I think you have a death wish." Lin Lei abruptly raised his head, a pair of tiger-like eyes bursting with boundless killing intent. He raised the black mysterious war halberd with one hand and drew a semicircle in the air, ruthlessly slashing down towards young Master Lan Tian, who was not far away. Young Master Lan Tian seemed to be relaxed, but his mind was already tense. The moment Lin Lei made a move, he reacted immediately. The tip of his foot touched the ground, and he retreated. "Brother Lin is anxious." Lord Lan Tian chuckled. If Lin Lei continued to endure, the few of them would go even further. The 5 of them wanted to force Lin Lei to make Lin Lei and his sister stay in Langfeng City. Lord Lan Tian dodged the halberd and activated his Dao fruit. A halo appeared behind his head and the feather fan in his hand opened. Quintessence gathered on the fan ribs, condensing into streams of sword qi, shooting out at Lin Lei. Young Master Lan Tian did not dare to be careless. He did not hold back from the start, activating his Dao fruit to fight. Lin Lei's wrist jerked and the black mystic halberd drew a beautiful arc cling. Clang, clang. The black mystic halberd blocked all the sword qi released by Lord Lan Tian and let out a series of crisp sounds. "Let's see how many moves you can take." Lin Lei hollered and his aura surged. He strode forward and swung the black mystic halberd. His moves were wide open and enveloped Lord Lan Tian. The black mystic halberd was imbued with powerful true yuan and was incomparably violent. Every time the halberd slashed, the surrounding void would distort. Lord Lan Tian felt weak and didn't dare to take it head-on. However, the moment Lin Lei attacked, he had the upper hand and formed a crushing momentum, not giving Lord Lan Tian any chance to breathe. The space to survive under the black mystic halberd became increasingly narrow. After just 10 moves, Lord Lan Tian was forced to take one of Lin Lei's moves head-on. Lord Lan Tian's body shuddered and his arms were sore and trembling slightly. Boom, boom, boom. After a slight pause, the 2 of them exchanged blows again. Peerless mystic skills exploded and clashed in midair, creating terrifying shockwaves. It was also a peerless mystic skill. The power produced by a perfected immortal expert using the true yuan condensed from a Dao fruit far surpassed that of a heaven immortal. Even though Su Zimo wasn't a perfected immortal, he could tell that if the battle continued, Lord Lan Tian would definitely lose. Haha. At this moment, Hong Shan laughed loudly and took out a one-legged copper man weapon from his storage bag. With a leap he arrived in midair. "Brother Lin, nice move. I'm itching for a fight. Let me give it a try." Hong Shan channeled his blood qi and his entire body swelled into a fist. His clothes were torn apart, revealing a body that seemed to be made of molten iron. He swung the one-legged bronze man towards Lin Lei. When she saw that, Lin Luo couldn't help but shout, "You're all city lords of the 5 major immortal cities. How shameless are you 2 against 1? Little girl, you're in the wrong." Fairy Nanyang chuckled. "It was clearly your brother who came to our place to behave atrociously. He attacked first. Who can you blame? This isn't a battle for the perfected immortal ranking. Who said that we have to fight one-on-one?" Gu Xiu said coldly. Lin Luo was furious and berated, "You're twisting the truth and twisting logic." Song Xian smirked and placed his hands behind his back. He said proudly, "Little girl, I'll teach you a lesson today. There's no such thing as black and white in this world. If my fist is big enough, I can control everything. Whether it's black or white, it's up to me." Boom. A tall figure fell heavily on the ground of the main hall, creating a huge pit and dust flying everywhere. It was Hong Shan, who had just charged forward, who was sent flying by Lin Lei's halberd. Hong Shan stood up from the dust and twisted his neck, letting out a series of cracking sounds. The veins on Hong Shan's neck bulged and the wounds on his body healed quickly. He stared at Lin Lei's figure and became even more excited. He shouted, "Again!" "Good move." Gu Xiu snorted and leaped into the air. A long sword with a cold light circled around him as he charged towards Lin Lei. "I'll join in the fun too." Fairy Nanyang chuckled and attacked at the same time. In the blink of an eye, the 4 city lords had all joined the battle. "You guys." Lin Luo clenched her fists and glared. "Good move." In midair, Lin Lei shouted. His black hair danced wildly as he pushed his blood chi to the limit. After the sound of the tide, 9 dragon roars resounded through the world. Beside Lin Lei, his blood chi surged and condensed into 9 lifelike divine dragons with sharp claws and teeth. The dragon heads were ferocious and murderous with rumbling might. Su Zimo had seen Lin Luo release this bloodline phenomenon of 9 dragons together once before. However, the same bloodline phenomenon released by Lin Lei was clearly much stronger than Lin Luo's. Lin Lei's blood chi and physique were extremely strong and his melee combat strength was abnormally ferocious. After releasing his bloodline phenomenon, Lin Lei released another peerless mystic ability. 3 heads and 6 arms, his combat strength increased exponentially as he fought against the 4 city lords. Boom, 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 boom. The 4 city lords released their bloodline phenomenons one after another as well. The reason why they could sit in the position of city lord was because they were the strongest perfected immortals of the Jade Heaven immortal realm. All of them had cultivated bloodline phenomenons. In an instant, a few different bloodline phenomenons collided in midair. It was extremely tragic. Although Lin Lei was fighting against 4 city lords alone, he became braver as the battle went on. He was not at a disadvantage at all. However, under the siege of the 4 city lords, it was extremely difficult for Lin Lei to break through their joint attack. Su Zimo frowned slightly. Although Lin Lei was not at a disadvantage and seemed to be maintaining the balance, the current situation was extremely disadvantageous for Lin Lei. Now, only the 4 city lords had joined forces. If Song Xian or other perfected immortals joined the battle, Lin Lei would definitely not be able to hold on and would be defeated. Chapter 2431. The battle continued and intensified. The 5 city lords of the Jade Heaven immortal domain were not ordinary perfected immortals in the main hall. Instead, they were top experts who were qualified to compete for the perfected immortal ranking during the 9 Heavens immortal meet. Lin Lei's combat strength was heaven-defying and his physique was shocking. Despite the high consumption of energy, he was still able to fight against the 4 city lords and remain undefeated. Both sides were in a stalemate for a long time and nobody could break out of the stalemate within a short period of time. Su Zimo was puzzled. Lin Lei's trump cards were endless and his talent in combat was indeed far superior to others. However, right from the beginning, Lin Lei had not released that mysterious footwork. Su Zimo had once had a flash of inspiration when his life was hanging by a thread and was lucky enough to use it once. As such, he knew very well how strong that mysterious footwork was. If he used that footwork, Lin Lei would definitely be able to break out of the stalemate. Su Zimo glanced at Lin Luo beside him and sent a voice transmission with his spirit consciousness, asking the question in his mind. "You mean the 9 palaces' subtle footwork?" Lin Luo was a little surprised. "I've seen you use it once before. So, you don't know the origin of that footwork?" Su Zimo nodded. Even so, Lin Luo explained patiently, "The 9 palaces' subtle footwork is a secret skill that my mother managed to master after obtaining an ancient inheritance. This secret skill is complicated and mysterious. My mother once imparted it to my father, brother and me. My father and brother are both extremely talented and have heaven-defying comprehension abilities. However, we could not grasp the essence of it. There's such a miraculous thing." Su Zimo was astonished. He did not know Lin Lei well. However, the human emperor's talent, opportunity, and comprehension abilities were naturally 1 in a billion for him to be able to rise against the tides of Tianhuang mainland and lead the human race to a glorious era. However, if even the human emperor could not comprehend the 9 palaces' subtle footwork, it could not be a problem of comprehension abilities. Lin Luo continued, the 9 palaces' subtle steps covers a wide range of areas, including astrology, geomancy, yin and yang, the 5 elements, Taishan Jiazi, and many other mantras. The calculations are exquisite and minute. Speaking of which, it's strange. I haven't cultivated for long, but I can already control the 9 palace subtle steps. After pausing for a moment, Lin Luo asked curiously, how can you use the 9 palace subtle steps? At first, I thought that mother had taught you before. Hesitating for a moment, Su Zimo replied, back then, it was merely a coincidence that I managed to release it. How could this be a coincidence? Lin Luo's eyes widened. After a while, Lin Luo said again, Big brother inherited more of father's Dao techniques, and I inherited more of mother's Dao techniques. Su Zimo nodded secretly. From this battle, it could be seen that Lin Lei's moves were ferocious and bold with a torrential aura, resembling the demeanor of the human emperor in the past. Su Zimo recalled something and instructed, if there's a chance later, leave with your brother as soon as possible. Don't bother about me. I have a teleportation jade badge in my storage bag and can leave at any time. Lin Luo was a little confused and was about to ask when Song Xian, who was watching from the side, suddenly changed his expression. Although he could not hear what Su Zimo and Lin Luo were saying, he could sense an extremely dense spirit consciousness fluctuation between the two of them. Without any warning, Song Xian suddenly turned around and grabbed Lin Luo by the throat, lifting her from the ground. Su Zimo could not move under the suppression of Song Xian's spirit consciousness. Ah! Lin Luo exclaimed. In the midst of the battle, Lin Lei sensed something and caught sight of this from the corner of his eye. He could not help but fly into a rage as his blood boiled and he roared, Song Xian, let go of her. In a battle of this level, both sides were top experts and could not afford to be distracted at all. Lin Lei was worried about his sister's safety and in that moment of distraction, he revealed an opening that was seized by the 4 city lords who attacked at the same time with an incomparably ferocious attack. Song Xian let go of Lin Luo and smiled. Of course, he would not really hurt Lin Luo. He merely wanted to make use of Lin Luo to distract Lin Lei. The heads and arms formed by the 3 heads and 6 arms were destroyed by the attacks of the 4 city lords one after another, turning into streams of true essence that dissipated on the spot. The situation was reversed instantly. Even so, Lin Lei relied on his powerful blood qi and heaven-defying combat strength to withstand the fierce attacks of the 4 city lords. Jade-shattering palm. Right at this moment, a soft cry sounded on the battlefield. Song Xian had finally made his move. His timing was impeccable. When he made his move, Lin Lei was at his weakest after withstanding the attacks of the 4 city lords. Song Xian slapped out with his palm and true essence condensed. A vast jade qi spread out and enveloped Lin Lei, condensing and freezing him continuously. In an instant, Lin Lei's body was covered with a jade luster. His entire body seemed to have transformed into a jade statue, and he couldn't move at all. Song Xian's palm slapped down. Jade shattering. Lin Lei fell heavily to the ground and flipped up. Before he could do anything, his body swayed and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The blood that he spat out landed on the ground and actually solidified like pieces of jade. Brother! Lin Luo let out a sorrowful cry. However, she was pinned to the ground by Jiang Xinyu and could not advance at all. She could only watch helplessly. Lin Lei's face was pale and his body swayed. He gripped the black mystic war halberd tightly with both hands to support his body and not fall to his knees. Fu. Song Xian chuckled. Lin Lei, it's already impressive that you managed to survive my jade-shattering palm. Do you still want to fight? Young Master Lan Tian and the other 3 descended from midair as well. They looked at Lin Lei with mocking gazes. At that moment, Lin Lei's bloodline was transforming continuously. Its flow was slowing down and it was gradually turning into jade. If his bloodline was completely assimilated, he would have to abandon this body. Despicable! Lin Lei cursed. As a city lord, how could you sneak attack me from behind? How shameless! The winner takes all. It's useless no matter what you say. Song Xian curled his lips and sneered disapprovingly. Lin Lei said coldly, "So what if I lose? If you dare to take my life, you won't live either. Brother Lin, you must be joking. Why would I want your life? The two of you are just bait." Song Xian said with a smile. Lin Lei's expression changed and his heart sank as he thought of a possibility. The purpose of these people was to make his mother rush over. At that time, the celestial kings of the Jade Heaven celestial realm would be alerted. Not only would their family be destroyed, but even the warring states would be completely destroyed. Have you finally guessed it? Song Xian's smile widened. Lin Luo also understood and suddenly shouted, "Brother, hurry up and leave. Tell mother not to come over. Protect father and the warring states. Don't worry about me." Lin Lei looked at Lin Luo with a pained expression. His heart was in a fierce struggle. "It's too late. None of you can leave." Song Xian did not stop Lin Luo from reminding him. He only shook his head with a mocking expression. Young Master Lan Tian and the others also released their divine sense and locked onto Lin Lei. As long as he made the slightest move, they would immediately attack. They would not even give Lin Lei the opportunity to use the transportation talisman to escape. Song Xian slightly raised his head and looked at Lin Lei condescendingly. He said proudly, "Lin Lei, from the moment you arrived here, the fate of your Lin family and the warring states has been decided. No one can change it. You accept your fate." Lin Lei's eyes flashed with a trace of confusion, powerlessness, and despair. The hand holding the black mysterious war halberd gradually loosened. At this moment, a purple-robed man walked into the hall. Chapter 2432. In the main hall, many perfected immortals tasted the blood peaches while watching the 5 city lords teach Lin Lei and his sister a lesson. They would chuckle, discuss, and toast each other merrily. At this moment, a gentle breeze blew by, and many cultivators couldn't help but shiver. After cultivating to the true immortal realm, not to mention the cold wind, even if it was some kind of peerless divine ability, it would be hard for them to react. "Bloody hell, what's going on?" a cultivator mumbled. Suddenly, that person caught sight of a purple robe fluttering past him from the corner of his eye. He raised his head instinctively and caught sight of a purple-robed man walking past him. The purple-robed man wore a cold silver mask and looked a little strange, revealing only a pair of deep eyes. "Who are you?" the perfected immortal shouted instinctively. Suddenly, the purple-robed man stopped in his tracks and turned around. His cold silver mask was facing that person and the eyes behind the mask were looking at the jade plate on the table. On the jade plate, there was a half-bitten blood peach. "Is the peach delicious?" Suddenly, the purple-robed man asked. The perfected immortal expert felt goosebumps from the purple-robed man's gaze. For some reason, he felt guilty and replied instinctively, "Weiss, it's delicious." Suddenly, Wu Dao's true body raised his hand and slapped that person on the face. Before the perfected immortal could react, his head was smashed and exploded instantly. His essence spirit was destroyed and he died on the spot. Another perfected immortal at the side was tasting the blood peach when he suddenly realized that his face was splattered with hot blood. He raised his head instinctively. "You!" That person glared at the purple-robed man with widened eyes. Just as he was about to question, he only managed to say a single word before the purple-robed man's palms slapped down. It was too fast. That person felt a sharp pain in his head before his vision turned dark and he lost consciousness. Right in front of everyone, the perfected immortal's head was smashed by the purple-robed man. In the blink of an eye, 2 perfected immortals were dead on the spot. After killing 2 true immortals in a row, the purple-robed man did not seem to realize it at all. It was as if he had just stepped on 2 ants and continued forward. Let alone the other true immortals in the Grand Hall, Even Song Xian and the other city lords, Lin Lei and Lin Luo, turned to look over. Who are you? How dare you come to my Langfeng city and behave atrociously? The two perfected immortals leaped up with murderous intent. A halo of light bloomed behind their heads as they activated their Dao fruits and summoned their psychic magic treasures, charging towards the purple-robed man. The purple-robed man did not stop. He waved his hand lightly as if he was driving away mosquitoes. The two perfected immortals suddenly froze in midair, not moving at all. Sizzle! In the next moment, in front of everyone's eyes, the bodies of the two perfected immortals seemed to have been sliced in half from the middle by an invisible, sharp blade. Blood gushed out and countless stinky organs flowed out, scattering all over the ground. Many perfected immortals' pupils constricted as they gasped. To be able to cultivate to this level, they had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Naturally, they had seen countless storms. But this was the first time they had seen such a scene in their lives. The ones who had died were not ants, but perfected immortals like them. And the process of this purple-robed man killing perfected immortals was so effortless, as if he was blowing off dust. The purple-robed man stepped over the corpses of the two perfected immortals and passed through a bloody mist. However, there was not a single speck of blood on his body. He was surrounded by the aura of the netherworld, as if he was an emissary from the depths of hell. Everyone could feel that the power released by this purple-robed man did not exceed the true self-realm. In other words, this person was not an immortal king. It was also because of this that many perfected immortals were calm and did not panic too much. After all, there were thousands of perfected immortals in the Grand Hall. Moreover, there were the city lords of the 5 immortal cities. Although the city lords of the 5 immortal cities felt a little shaken, they quickly calmed down. The true self-realm was divided into the consolidation realm, heavenly human realm, Kongming realm, and insightful void realm. Just now, the 4 perfected immortals who had died had not exceeded the heavenly human realm. There was a huge gap between them and peak perfected immortals. The gap between them and the 5 of them was like heaven and earth. Moreover, this was Langfeng City, one of the 5 immortal cities of the Jade Firmament immortal realm. What could this person do? Song Xian narrowed his eyes and asked in a low voice, "How should I address you, fellow Taoist? Are you here for the Lin siblings?" Lin Lei frowned and exchanged a look with Lin Luo. Both of them were confused. They had no impression of this purple-robed man. The purple-robed man said indifferently, "You captured my people, but you don't recognize me?" "You are..." Song Xian's heart skipped a beat. He seemed to have thought of something, and his expression changed drastically. "I am Araki Takashi." Wu Dao's true body opened his mouth and spat out these 4 words. These 4 words instantly caused an uproar among the crowd in the hall. Many perfected immortals were shocked, and their expressions were uncertain. Lin Lei was also stunned on the spot. A look of disbelief appeared in his eyes as he muttered softly, "He really dares to come? Araki Takashi from the demonic domain. So he is Araki Takashi with the silver mask. I should have known. How is it possible? How dare Araki Takashi come? Is he really not afraid of death?" The perfected immortals' expressions were solemn as they placed their palms on their storage bags. They did not dare to be careless as they released their divine sense to search around. Everyone thought that if Araki Takashi had arrived, he would have brought his army of demonic cultivators with him. Song Xian and the other lords of the 5 immortal cities were also constantly searching, but they did not find any traces of demonic cultivators. "Tell me, how many people did you bring?" Young Master Lantian waved his folding fan and asked coldly. "I alone am enough to kill all of you." Wu Dao's tone was indifferent, as if he was stating an irrefutable fact. Hong Shan could not hold it in any longer. With a loud laugh, he suddenly raised the 1-legged copper man and pointed it at the martial Dao true body, almost poking his face. Wu Dao's body did not move, nor did he dodge. It was as if he could not feel the threat of this 1-legged bronze statue. "Araki Takashi, who do you think you are?" Hong Shan sneered. Even the supreme immortals of the 9 heavens immortal domain, the supreme arhat of the Pure Land, and the supreme true devil of the demonic domain would not dare to boast like this. If I smash this bronze statue, your head will be smashed into pieces. How many lives do you have left? Wu Dao's body did not answer. Behind the silver mask, 2 rays of divine light suddenly burst out from his eyes, dazzling and blinding. Oh no! Hong Shan was shocked and subconsciously raised the one-legged bronze statue, wanting to stop Wu Dao's body. Wu Dao's body stepped forward and raised his hand to punch. Bang! This punch hit the chest of the one-legged bronze statue. Hong Shan's body trembled as his eyes widened. He only felt a destructive and terrifying force crazily enter his body through the one-legged bronze statue. His palm was torn and blood flowed out. He could not hold the one-legged bronze statue at all. His entire arm could not feel. Chapter 24:33. The one-legged copper man was sent flying back by Wu Dao's true body's punch, crashing into Hong Shan's chest. Crackle! Hong Shan's chest caved in, and a series of bone-cracking sounds instantly sounded. Countless broken bones pierced his internal organs, heart, and lungs. Hong Shan opened his mouth and spat out a large mouthful of blood. This one-legged copper man was a 9-tribulation pure yang spirit treasure. Although Hong Shan's physique was strong, he could not withstand the impact of a pure yang spirit treasure. His entire body was almost smashed to pieces by his one-legged copper man. Before Hong Shan could catch his breath, he felt a shadow envelop him. Wu Dao's true body followed like a shadow and had already chased after him. Save me! Hong Shan roared and frantically urged his essence spirit, wanting to release a teleportation technique to escape from this place. It was too terrifying. He had never expected that this demon region's Araki Takashi would attack so decisively, actually erupting with such a terrifying power that was completely unstoppable. Song Xian and the other 3 were also shocked, their expressions shocked. What the 4 of them did not expect was that Hong Shan would be defeated so quickly. Back then, even when facing a strong enemy like Lin Lei, Hong Shan was sent flying and did not have much of an impact. But now, Araki Takashi's punch almost took Hong Shan's life. Song Xian, Fairy Nanyang, Gu Xiu, and young Master Lan Tian hurriedly took out their spirit treasures, activated their Dao fruits, and condensed their divine powers and mystic techniques, preparing to besiege Wu Dao's true body and save Hong Shan. This time, even Song Xian stood by and watched, preparing to join forces with the other 4 immortal city lords. Wu Dao's true body completely ignored Song Xian and the rest. He only stared at the retreating Hong Shan and suddenly opened his mouth. Song Xian and the rest instantly felt the sense of unease in their hearts. Song Xian, Gu Xiu, and young Master Lan Tian reacted the fastest. They directly opened their mouths and released their sound domain mystic techniques. Roar! As soon as the 3 lords of the immortal city unleashed their sound domain secret techniques, an earth-shattering roar erupted from Wu Dao's mouth. It was filled with boundless authority. The sound domain's secret arts of the 3 city lords were instantly drowned out by the roar. Only the cries of billions of living beings remained in everyone's ears. Sound of myriad spirits. Ripples visible to the naked eye quickly spread throughout the hall. They first enveloped Song Xian and the others, then continued to spread. Song Xian's group of 5 were the closest to Wu Dao's main body, so they were the first to bear the brunt of the impact. Song Xian, Gu Xiu, and young Master Lan Tian were still fine. After all, they had released their sound domain secret techniques in advance to resist and neutralize most of the power. As for Fairy Nanyang, before she could react, she was directly impacted by the sound of 10,000 spirits. Her entire body stiffened and her eyes lost focus. Her primordial spirit in her spiritual sea suddenly shattered. The city lord of Bright Candle Immortal City was roared to death by Wu Dao's main body on the spot before he could release any divine powers or secret skills. Although Song Xian and the other 2 managed to preserve their lives, they felt dizzy and their ears buzzed. The divine powers and secret skills in their hands dissipated as well. The 3 of them were shocked and could no longer be bothered to help Hong Shan. They retreated one after another and tried their best to distance themselves from Wu Dao's main body. Hong Shan relied on his powerful physique to withstand the impact of the sound of myriad spirits. However, he was bleeding from his 7 orifices with a tragic expression. His teleportation process was interrupted as well as his body stiffened and his movement technique paused for a moment. That momentary pause was more than enough for Wu Dao's main body. Bang! The next moment, Wu Dao's main body arrived and shattered Hong Shan's head with a single punch. In the blink of an eye, 2 of the 5 immortal city lords were dead. The impact of the sound of myriad spirits was not over yet. It caused an even larger impact and unimaginable lethality. Even the 5 city lords could not withstand the sound domain's secret skill. Although the other perfected immortals were further away, they were affected as well. More than 10 perfected immortal experts who were closer to Wu Dao's main body were torn apart and exploded into clouds of blood. Their bodies and spirits were destroyed. More than 200 perfected immortal experts shuddered as their skin and flesh exploded. They fell to the ground one after another with blood flowing everywhere. The essence spirits of those perfected immortals were already killed in their consciousness. The other perfected immortals suffered different degrees of impact as well. Thankfully, they managed to preserve their lives and channeled their Dao fruit's blood qi to conjure secret skills to defend against it. The spirit consciousness suppression that was initially restraining Su Zimo and Lin Luo naturally dissipated as well. Initially, Lin Lei was shocked and thought that Lin Luo would definitely die under such an impact. Lin Luo was not far from Araki Takashi and was only a grade 6 heavenly immortal. If even perfected immortals could not withstand it, how could Lin Luo be spared? However, to his surprise, the shockwaves from the voice of all spirits swept past him and Lin Luo without causing any harm to them. The voice of all spirits seemed to have intentionally avoided the 2 of them. How could that be? Recalling some information regarding Desolate Marshal, Lin Lei's heart skipped a beat as he lamented internally, I heard that this person established Tianhuang sect. Could it be that he's also from Tianhuang mainland of the lower world? Lin Luo was also a little confused and froze on the spot. This is the moment. Suddenly, Lin Luo heard a soft shout by her ears. Su Zimo pushed her forcefully towards Lin Lei and whispered, "Remember what I said. Hurry and leave." Lin Luo suddenly came to her senses and recalled that Su Zimo had previously told her to leave this place with Lin Lei if there was a chance. Now was indeed the best time. The remaining 3 immortal city lords were all focused on Araki Takashi of the demon domain. They already had a chance to escape this place and return to the Qing Shao immortal domain. Lin Luo was about to say something, but Su Zimo had already turned around and ran towards the courtyard in the center of the hall. In the courtyard, Momo, who was tied to a stone pillar, had already woken up due to the vibration of the voice of all spirits. He tried his best to raise his head and look in this direction. He saw a familiar figure running towards him in the chaotic battlefield with a determined look in his eyes. Momo could not believe her eyes. After he ascended, he had encountered countless hardships and dangers. He was even trapped here and had to bleed to nourish another peach tree. She had thought that she would die here. However, she did not expect that after being awakened by a roar, she would open her eyes and see the figure who had accompanied her for many years in Tianhuang town. Unknowingly, Momo's eyes were wet and her vision gradually blurred. She was anxious, but her body was restrained and she could not free her hands. She could only blink her eyes hard, trying to see the figure clearly. Soon, the figure ran in front of her. Momo tried her best to open her eyes and identify it. Her lips trembled slightly as she tried to call out, "Young master?" "It's me." Su Zimo smiled and said, "I finally found you. I'll get you out." Upon hearing this familiar voice, Momo seemed to have a place to vent all the grievances she had suffered all these years. Bean-sized teardrops rolled down her cheeks and tears gushed out. Su Zimo's heart ached at the sight of Momo crying. In Pingyang town of Tianhuang mainland, Momo guarded it silently and stood aloof from worldly affairs. When had she ever been hurt and wronged? The upper world that countless living beings yearned for did not attract Momo at all. If it wasn't for her, how could he have ascended to this place? "I'm sorry I'm late." Su Zimo felt guilty and said softly. Reaching out, he broke the chains on Momo's body. Chapter 24-34. Su Zimo's killing intent surged as he looked at the skinny and sallow Momo. The two true bodies were telepathically connected. Although Wu Dao's true body was on the battlefield, he could sense the emotions of Qinglian's true body. His gaze turned colder and his killing intent surged. Araki Takashi, this is one of the 5 major immortal cities of the Jade Firmament Immortal Realm. You barged in and started a massacre. Don't even think about leaving alive today. Young Master Lantian hollered. You're going to start a massacre just like that? Wu Dao's true body moved and headed towards Song Xian, Young Master Lantian and Gu Xiu. He said in a sinister tone, "You're still far from it." Solitary Cloud Peak. Gu Xiu summoned his pure yang numinous treasure from his storage bag and tossed it into the air. He channeled his Dao fruit and the peak expanded rapidly, forming a gigantic shadow that crushed down on Wu Dao's true body. Even when he dealt with Lin Lei earlier on, he did not use that pure yang numinous treasure. At the same time, Gu Xiu released a series of mystic skills that augmented Solitary Cloud Peak. 9 scorch marks flickered on the peak and its power surged in a terrifying manner. Under the shroud of Solitary Cloud Peak, Wu Dao's true body appeared extremely tiny like a speck of dust. Boom! Solitary Cloud Peak descended, but Martial Dao body didn't even raise his head. He didn't even look at the mountain peak. He just continued to rush forward. He only raised his arm and opened his palm, supporting the mountain peak with his bare hands. The next moment, the perfected immortals witnessed an incomparably shocking scene. Wu Dao's true body supported a majestic peak with a single hand and was walking through the air. His speed did not decrease at all and he was filled with a domineering aura. Blazing Moon Slash. Young Master Lantian conjured a mystic skill and released a cold beam of burning flames. At the same time, he summoned the folding fan in his hands and fused with the mystic skill, slashing towards Wu Dao's true body. Clang. Without even looking, Wu Dao's true body tossed Solitary Cloud Peak over his head. Rumble. The burning moon slash collided with the Solitary Cloud Peak, causing a series of explosions that shook the earth and mountains. Wu Dao's true body's throw was too powerful. In the blink of an eye, it destroyed the burning moon slash and the giant mountain peak crashed towards young Master Lantian. Broken Jade Palm. At the same time, Song Xian arrived. The timing of his attack was still perfect. It was the exact moment when Wu Dao's main body had launched a series of attacks. The old energy had just dissipated and the new energy had yet to be generated. His palm was covered in a layer of jade-like color as he slapped down. Wu Dao's main body didn't take any stance at all. Instead, he countered with a punch. Bang! The fist and palm collided, and a muffled sound rang out as if they had been defeated. Then, Wu Dao's fist was instantly enveloped by a jade color. The jade color continued to spread, and at a speed visible to the naked eye, it went along his arm and covered his entire body. In the blink of an eye, Wu Dao turned into a jade statue. This is bad. Seeing this, Lin Lei, who was below, gasped. Just now, he had been ambushed by Song Xian and taken advantage of the situation. He had been struck by this broken jade palm and lost his ability to fight. He had yet to recover. He'll be fine, right? Lin Luo had a worried expression. This broken jade palm is extremely powerful. It can turn one's bloodline into jade. Lin Lei said gravely, this Araki Takashi's strength is indeed extraordinary, but he's too arrogant. He really shouldn't have taken this blow head-on against Song Xian. He could have avoided Song Xian's palm. Although he was temporarily pushed back, he could have stabilized his footing and planned a counterattack. Wu Dao's main body and Song Xian's fist and palm collided. They were motionless, as if time had stopped. Before Lin Lei could finish speaking, he discovered that Song Xian's eyes were wide open. There wasn't the slightest bit of joy in them. Instead, they were filled with terror. Boom! The jade layer on Wu Dao's main body exploded. His blood qi surged with the sound of waves crashing against the shore like rolling thunder. Even Lin Lei and Song Xian, who were far below, could sense the powerful blood chi power emanating from Wu Dao's main body. It was vast, boundless, and unstoppable. Wu Dao's main body didn't look injured at all. His blood chi was circulating and his aura was even stronger. At the same time, Song Xian's entire body shook as though he was struck by lightning. He retreated rapidly and spat out a mouthful of blood into the air. One punch. Lin Lei's eyes widened in shock. He had fought with Song Xian before and was well aware of Song Xian's background. Song Xian's combat strength was comparable to his. But now, Song Xian couldn't even take a single punch from Araki Takashi from the demon domain. You're quite capable to be able to survive a single punch from me. Wu Dao's main body said indifferently. Wu Dao's main body flashed. Young Master Lan Tian had just neutralized Lone Cloud Peak's charge. Before he could catch his breath, he saw Wu Dao's main body approaching him. It was too fast. The moment that thought appeared in young Master Lan Tian's mind, Wu Dao's main body had already attacked. There were no mystic skills or mystic skills. It was just a simple punch. That punch was more explosive than fire, as turbulent as the sea and as heavy as a mountain. Young Master Lan Tian had been through countless battles since he started cultivating, but he had never seen such a terrifying punch. That punch was more terrifying than any mystic skills or spirit channeling Dharma treasures. The yuan qi of heaven and earth around young Master Lan Tian had been completely burned away in an instant. The void was collapsing and his body was falling forward involuntarily. The power of that punch was not the only thing that was terrifying. Furthermore, it was only a single punch, but it had completely sealed off all of his escape routes. There was no way to retreat. Young Master Lan Tian's expression was grim as he roared and channeled his Dao fruit wildly. He took out a gigantic shield from his storage bag and placed it in front of him. Against that punch, he did not have the courage or strength to retaliate and could only defend passively. 8 scorch marks from the heavenly tribulation appeared on the shield, flickering with crackling lightning. Boom! Wu Dao's main body's fist descended and struck the shield heavily. In fact, he did not even think of stopping and circled around the spirit-channeling Dharma treasure to attack once more. Crack, crack, crack. Cracks appeared on the shield and spread to every corner instantly. The fist penetrated the shield and struck young Master Lan Tian's chest. Instantly, a gigantic hole appeared in young Master Lan Tian's chest and blood gushed out like a fountain. The destructive power surged into his sea of consciousness, crushing his primordial spirit. Before his essence spirit could react, he was killed on the spot. Young Master Lan Tian's expression was blank. There was no fear in his eyes before he died, only endless shock. He did not expect that his defensive shield, an 8th tribulation spirit treasure, would be penetrated and shattered by Wu Dao's main body with a single punch. Another one of the 5 immortal city lords was dead. Even an 8th tribulation spirit treasure can't withstand it. What a terrifying physique! What powerful blood chi! Lin Lei could not help but murmur softly. He had inherited more than half of his father's inheritance and had his own fortuitous encounters as well as many secret techniques from his mother. He thought that he was invincible in a one-on-one fight. But now, facing the power displayed by Wu Dao's main body, Lin Lei even had the thought of retreating and did not dare to fight. Lin Lei did not realize that what he saw now was only the tip of the iceberg of Wu Dao's main body. Chapter 2435. In the courtyard at the center of the main hall, Su Zimo had just helped Momo down when he sensed a commotion behind him. Su Zimo swept his gaze and was enraged. At that moment, the entire place was in chaos. The immortality peach tree in the courtyard extended countless branches towards him and Momo. The immortality peach tree wanted to absorb Momo's blood as well. Su Zimo conjured a sword art and slashed in reverse. Dozens of branches were severed from the middle. Scarlet blood splattered out from the branches of the immortality peach tree. A terrifying wail of pain could be heard from the immortality peach tree, as though ghosts were wailing. Under the nourishment of Momo's blood, the immortality peach tree was gradually gaining sentience. "How dare you act so brazenly, demon tree?" Su Zimo's expression was cold as he prepared to uproot the immortality peach tree. Momo, who was initially in his embrace, tugged at his sleeves gently and whispered, "Leave it to me, young master." Su Zimo frowned slightly. He was worried when he saw Momo's weakened state. Momo did not reply. She struggled to stand up and extended her arms. Suddenly, all 10 of his fingers transformed into peach tree branches and extended towards the immortality peach tree, piercing into its body instantly. Momo closed her eyes and channeled her Tao art, murmuring softly, "You've consumed so much of my blood over the years. It's time for you to pay me back." He was robbing the life essence of the immortality peach tree. The immortality peach tree swayed wildly and its body swayed. A shriek could be heard from its body as though it was resisting. As time passed by, the trunk and branches of the immortality peach tree started to wither. On the other hand, Tao Yao's condition gradually recovered. The flesh on his body also became plump, and his face regained some color. At this moment, the blood peaches on the peach tree of immortality shattered one after another, and blood essence scattered all over the place. The heavenly peach tree's aura surged, and it wanted to use the blood essence to counterattack. It wanted to devour Momo's bloodline and life essence. Momo's body swayed and she almost fell. He channeled his Tao technique and disappeared. A peach tree appeared on the spot, just like the one in the courtyard in Pingyang town. All these years, he had been imprisoned and bound. His physical condition was too poor. Su Zimo secretly frowned and prepared to intervene at any time to interrupt the process. If worse came to worst, he would just destroy the peach tree. The two sides were in a deadlock for a while. Suddenly, under the peach tree that Momo had transformed into, a blurry figure appeared. Her facial features could not be seen, but she could vaguely tell that it was a woman. She was wearing a blood-red robe, which was somewhat dazzling. Su Zimo shuddered. In his days, he seemed to have returned to that night in Pingyang town in Tianhuang mainland. The moonlight was like water and peach blossoms fell one after another. The woman stood under the peach tree with a haze around her like a fairy that had descended to the mortal realm. It was that night when the woman imparted the Tao beneath the peach tree and brought him into the path of cultivation. Momo was enlightened by Dai Yu and gained sentience. At that critical moment, her Tao techniques converged and revealed what happened that night. Although Dai Yu did not reveal her true appearance and merely had her back facing the peach tree not far away, the moment her figure appeared, the Tao techniques around the peach tree of immortality collapsed instantly. A whimper sounded from within the peach tree of immortality before it went completely silent. It had given up resisting. Swoosh! A massive amount of life essence surged into Momo's body endlessly. Momo's aura was rising rapidly. However, the peach tree of immortality was aging rapidly and its leaves were yellow, falling one after another in a lifeless manner. On the battlefield in midair, Song Xian sensed the commotion in the center of the hall and suddenly recalled that he still had a hostage on his side. Since Araki Takashi of the Fiend Domain was willing to come here alone for Momo, it was clear that the Tao child was extremely important to him. If he could capture Momo, it would be equivalent to grabbing hold of the Tao child's Achilles heel. However, right now his and young Master Lantian's chi bodies were completely locked onto by Wu Dao's true body. They did not even dare to be distracted, let alone escape. He could only give orders and direct the others. Jiang Xianyu, hurry and go capture that Tao child. Song Xian shouted loudly. However, he was still fixated on Wu Dao's true body, afraid that the latter would suddenly attack him. Jiang Xianyu and the others understood and turned hurriedly, charging towards Momo. Humph! Wu Dao's true body swept his gaze and channeled his essence spirit, conjuring hand seals repeatedly. Bush. Suddenly, scarlet flames burst out from the bodies of Jiang Xianyu and the other perfected immortals. They spread from the inside out and instantly engulfed their bodies. Everyone clawed at their bodies and let out shrill cries. Some of them hurriedly released their mystic arts. However, the power of the mystic arts spread and instead fueled the flames. Scarlet flames continuously spewed out from their mouths, noses, eyes, and ears. In the blink of an eye, human-shaped fireballs appeared in the hall. In a few breaths' time, someone had already been burned to death, leaving behind a strange scarlet lotus imprint. Red Lotus Hellfire! Song Xian exclaimed with an ugly expression when he saw the imprint. Of course, most of the perfected immortals relied on their cultivation base, condensed their true essence, and activated their Dao fruits to resist the impact of the Red Lotus Hellfire. However, they were too busy fending for themselves and no one cared about Momo anymore. Gu Xiu looked at the scene of flames and corpses strewn all over the hall and was already frightened to the point of retreating. The moment that thought crossed his mind, his eyelids twitched and he felt a strong sense of danger. Not good. Gu Xiu's heart skipped a beat. He did not have time to think and turned Solitary Cloud Peak to block in front of him. Indeed, Wu Dao's true body had already charged over. Boom! Against Solitary Cloud Peak, Wu Dao's true body did not dodge and raised his hand to throw a punch. Although he was separated by Solitary Cloud Peak, Gu Xiu could still sense the immense and shocking divine power that burst forth from Wu Dao's true body's punch. Solitary Cloud Peak was a pure yang spirit treasure after all and neutralized most of the power of Wu Dao's true body's punch. Even so, Gu Xiu's body shuddered and his arms went numb. He had already lost all feeling. Just as he was about to escape, Wu Dao's true body's second punch descended. Boom! Helpless, Gu Xiu could only continue to support Solitary Cloud Peak and withstand the second wave of impact. Boom! The blood qi in Wu Dao's true body surged like a tidal wave and attacked once more. The third punch arrived. When this punch landed on Solitary Cloud Peak, Wu Dao's true body did not stay any longer. He turned around and left, not even looking at Gu Xiu again. Gu Xiu pushed Solitary Cloud Peak with both hands and stood frozen in midair, motionless. The man and the peak seemed to be still. The next moment, Gu Xiu's gaze dimmed and the life force in his body drained rapidly. The tendons and bones in his body were broken and his organs were already shattered. His life force was already severed and his essence spirit in his consciousness was extinguished. He died on the spot. The man and the peak fell down. 3 punches. Even with the pure yang spirit treasure of 9 tribulations blocking, Gu Xiu still could not withstand 3 punches and died on the spot. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.